Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. I'm your co-host, Tim. My other host, Jonathan, will be joining me in just a minute. We had a few streaming issues, but I wanted to go ahead and get started. Tonight also, welcome to the chat room. I see we already have several people there, so if you guys have a question, I'll go ahead and take those now. But how's everybody? Hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. We had a great one here. I didn't get really much. I did get this shirt from Jonathan. You know, he likes to remember the shirt that we opened last time, so I decided to wear it today. Mostly I got clothes and maybe a tool or two. Kids always get me socks, stuff like that, and some money. So I have been shopping, just a few things that I needed. Hope that you guys all had a good holiday season. Happy New Year to y'all. I'm really looking forward to 2018. I think it's going to be a great year. And just looking forward to, what all we got going on. Just different things that we're going to try. And maybe getting around shooting a few more videos. Making some more games. Finishing some long time repairs. So, that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's good to have you guys here tonight. I promise Jonathan will be here really soon. He's attending to a child right now, and then we've had some live streaming issues, but it's all good. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the new year. I hope that, it's always good to kind of get ready for some new projects or to really, I like punch list. A lot of people don't like them. I like to make a new punch list every year. Goals. They say that most goals, if you write them down, you'll accomplish them. So looking back over 2017, didn't get everything I wanted done, but I did accomplish a few goals. So this year I really want to raise that bar a little bit and try to get more done. Really want to get some things out of storage. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like games sitting in storage. They're not doing me any good. They're not doing anybody any good. I need to fix them and play them myself or give them to somebody who's going to play them. Games were meant to be played and not sitting in a storage building somewhere just collecting dust or rats chewing on them or something like that. So that's my goal, is to get stuff out of storage and to get it working and either sell it or move it, or I got tons of parts and stuff. I'm sure somebody out there needs them. I need to let go of some of that stuff. I think house cleaning, organizing would be a good New Year's goal of mine. So anyway, what about some of you guys in the chat room? I guess you'd call it a New Year's resolution or a goal that you would like to do over the coming year. Maybe you've got something that you would like to do that. I've got a few. I've got a couple. I've got a Tron project that I really need to finish. I have a Centipede that's probably about 80% there. I have a Miss Pac-Man that's 90% there. I just need to get it clean and out. So what about you guys? Is there anything in your game rooms that you need to really get on top of? And I think that, I haven't had a pinball machine in the collection in a while, so maybe I could get some of my Trons going or something. I have 3 that I need to get going and out of the storage unit. And YouTube Punk says we need to buy a new home and move a home with a game room. That's something that's on our list too. The only problem we're having right now is we're 4 miles away from school, and my son has to go back and forth to school a lot. We're debating, before we really pack up, because I need a place with a bigger, with a game room and stuff also. it's pretty neat when you base your next house sale on if it's got a game room or not. You know you got the arcade collecting bug bad. Another guy, Jan, says he's going to fix his Lethal Enforcer in 2018. So that would be good. Another Ryan says he's going to find himself a new project, maybe a cocktail. I like balance in my game room. I like to have some stand-ups, cocktail, pinball game, those things like that. But a Lethal Enforcer, boy, and I think I still have. I'm trying to think of the name of that shooting game. There's one that I need to work on. It's about that era of game. So anyway, guys, we're just killing a little time here. Jonathan will be here in just a minute, and we'll get into the questions and stuff. Just wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. Where I'd like to know, how cold is it where you guys are, where you're listening from? Seems like there is when we say we're cold here in Texas, it's been below 20, around 20 degrees here in East Texas for about 3 days, which is really, really unlikely for us. We think that's cold, and that's not compared to anywhere near compared to how cold it is, say, up north, or I know we got some Facebook guys in Nebraska and stuff where it's been in the negatives. That's just crazy cold. We don't handle cold very good here. RC Outdoor says he's going to fix a claw machine and blackout pinball machine. And and another guy says from Israel, you can ship my country. Yes, we've shipped videos and stuff all to about 20 different countries, I think. And if you got a post office, it's possible to ship parts there. Jan says it's 65 degrees here. Wow, you must be in the 32 in Louis and Myrtle Beach, which is really cold for there. That's crazy. Just seems like, yes, Texas usually has summer. I can tell you probably out of the last 4 or 5 Christmases, on Christmas Day, we've worn shorts, and stuff. Weatherford, Oklahoma, 50 degrees. That's I'm surprised it's that warm there and still so cold here, but I think it's supposed to warm up here. Just kind of hard when you got a garage like me where I work on games to really motivate and get out there when it's so cold. I say that every year. I'm like, well, I'm going to wait till it cools off because it is 100 degrees all summer every day here. And then I say, well, I want to wait till it gets cooler, and then it gets cold, and then I'm like, I don't want to go out there either. So I really maybe I need to move to a San Diego type climate or something where it's 70 all year round. Then I wouldn't have any excuse for not working on my games. But welcome, you guys. Ohio, he says it's cold below zero. See, and I realized that it has just been a really cold. I think the other day they said something like 90% of the U.S. was under freezing on New Year's Day or something. And we were actually colder here in East Texas than parts of Alaska, which is really crazy. Christopher says he works in New York City, and live in New Jersey, it's freezing. So, it seems like everybody's kind of going through this cold spell. Here in East Texas, we heat our houses with central air and heat, which seems to work really good. But I have a fireplace, so I love this time of year to make a fire and stuff. I know when I was visiting up north, a lot of people had like heating oil and stuff like that. So I know that I'm watching the weather. It looks like a huge blizzard hitting parts of that area. So if you're in that area, we're sorry. I'm glad that your internet is still working and that you're able to watch here today. Anyway, still waiting on Jonathan for just a minute. But I will field anybody's questions that they had in the, if I miss one, sorry. He's so good about switching back and forth and stuff. But I'll try to answer any questions that I have. And we'll get right into the live show questions as soon as he gets in here. He's so much better at me than fiddling with this stuff and making it all work. I like the format, though. I like the way he does things. I like how he switches screens and stuff. I think it's pretty good for an old schooler like me. And I know I'm filling out some time. A lot of people ask me, how did you get into the arcade industry? And I don't know if you know my story or not. I'll give it to you in a very simple. It's very hard to juggle reading and chat. You're very correct. And Jonathan does such a great job of editing and doing all this stuff. You're kind of just getting me raw right now. But I'll talk a little bit about how I got into collecting, and that was when the arcades first came out. I remember we had a grocery store, and I grew up in a small town called Pauls Valley, Oklahoma. If you've ever been to Oklahoma from Dallas, you go right straight, Oklahoma City that is, you go straight through Pauls Valley, right halfway between Ardmore and Oklahoma City. We always used to get a lot of snow, and we had a good time there. But I grew up there, and local Safeway had a Pac-Man, and I become infatuated with playing it. And a guy in our church opened the first arcade, and I would go up there, and I didn't always have money to play the games, but I would tell him, hey, if I'll clean up around here, and I'll mow your grass, and I'll do this if you'll let me come in here and play games. So I would get to go in about an hour or two before people would get there, and I would help clean the games and pick up trash and things like that, and he would let me play them. And pretty soon he would send me to Radio Shack and different places, and we would learn how to work on stuff because nobody knew how. And we would call Atari, and they would walk us through how to solder and do different things. And so that's what we did, and that's kind of how I got into it. Skip ahead years later, I remember seeing this was probably mid-90s, I saw a pole position for sale at a local thrift shop, and it was for $700, and that $700 seemed like a lot of money for that game. So I told him, I said, I remember that game always being broken in the arcade. If it works, I'll give you $500. But if it doesn't work, will you let me have it for $100? And he said, oh, it'll work. It'll fire up. And I said, well, that's the deal. If it comes right on and I can play it, I'll give you $500. If it doesn't work at all, will you take $100? And he said, deal. And of course, we turned it on and it wouldn't come on. And I went home, and I remember that thing blew fuses like crazy. And I took that $100 pole position, and I fixed it in a matter of about 10 minutes and played pole position for about 6 months. And, there's only pole position 1, so there's only so many times that you can play pole position till I wore that game slap out. Still have it somewhere. It's in my friend Stan's collection in Austin, Texas, so I know where it is, along with a Seawolf that I had not long after that. But, you can only play so much pole position before I finally got tired of it. And I found some games for sale in Arkansas and traveled to pick up one and came back with 4. And I had a Miss Pac-Man, which is still in my collection today, a Galaxian. Let's see, what else did I get? Maybe like a JAMA 1943 or something like that. Wasn't long after that, I bought 10 more, and then it just kind of went crazy after that. Today it's scaled way, way back, but that's kind of my story. A lot of people want to know how I got into repairs, mostly out of necessity, because there weren't anybody back in those days that we knew that could fix video games, and we had to learn a lot on our own. So anyway, some of you guys are just talking in the chat room. I promise, as I hear the car driving up now, Jonathan will be here in just a couple minutes. But anyway, hope that you guys answered that question. I get that question a lot, how we got into, and how I met Jonathan was he actually sold me a computer as a teenager working at Best Buy, and we got to talking about MAME, and he said, well, I could do the computer end, but I don't know how to wire up one to a cabinet. I told him, well, I can wire one into a cabinet, but I don't know how to do the computer part of it. And that was like the Reese's chocolate meat and peanut butter moment. And that's been, gosh, almost 15 years ago now. So we've been good friends for a long time. And he will be here in just a second. You guys are really going to see how much of this he does to keep this up and going. But Pac-Man was definitely I don't think it was the very first game I ever played. I can remember in the arcade, maybe the first one I ever played was Asteroids. I don't know that I played any other video game besides that. And there was a Star Castle there. But I definitely put a lot of quarters and probably paid for an operator's child to go to college that first year that Pac-Man came out. And sadly, I never got very good at it. You'd think I would, but I really didn't. Silver Mania says he has a Q-port, got a $5 cab, was shot, did not start up for 3 minutes, had it up and running, and me and my son built a new cab for it. I think that's been where I kind of went from was just cleaning and taking care of games to really building them from scratch is fun.
Okay.
There he is.
I'm back.
Ivan gave the whole history of me, whole history of video games. We're talking about the weather.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm sorry that I left you alone with Tim. That will never happen again. I promise. Right?
I told them they're going to see who really controls things now. I just show up.
Okay. So, episode 11 of the Arcade Repair Tips live show starts with Tim doing a little freestyle with you guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of that. So, what did you cover again? I heard something about
we talked about Christmas the cold weather. Some of them are in 0 temperatures. One's at 65 degrees. I forget where he was from. But
I wish I was from wherever he was from. Though.
Yes. And then I talked about how I got into arcade collecting and stuff. So a lot of people are always asking me, when did you start working on games? As old as games are, that's as old as I am. So,
well, guys, we want to thank you for being here for the Arcade Repair Tips live show, episode 7. Sorry about some of the technical difficulties. We had some streaming issues, Tim. Yeah. And on top of that, I've got a sick daughter that I'm also trying to take care of, and we got some other things going on. But we're still doing a show.
Right.
And we're still here. So weather, collecting, arcade games. I heard something about a grocery store.
Yeah, we're talking.
Okay.
That's where I played Pac-Man for the first time at Safeway.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Okay. Well, again, thank you guys. So, I hope you guys all had a really great Christmas. Tim, sounds like you had a really great Christmas.
We did.
We talked before about his Christmas. So
right.
It sounds like he had a really good one. That's right. You got your shirt. Now, they only know that, though, if they saw the after show, because we forgot to open the gifts on the live show.
That's true.
So, if you want to see Tim open his present, you have to go back to episode 10 and watch the after show, because that's where it actually happened, right?
Right.
Because we totally forgot about the gifts, and guys, I don't know if you could tell, I was not feeling good.
Right.
Okay, when we did that show. I was very under the weather, and so... It was a rough show to get through, but we did get through it. And just like this one had a rough start, we're gonna get through it as well. So, no offense, Tim. I'm sure you did fine. We'll ask the chat room. So, scale from 1 to 10, how well did Tim handle the?
Nobody left.
Nobody left.
We gained a couple.
Hey, look at that. So you're. I think just based on that, I'm gonna give you an A+. So there you go. Okay, guys, well, we do have questions tonight. Now, remember that if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat room. I'm going to move the chat back over here. I put it over here so Tim could see it while he was helming it by himself. But we're going to put it over here so I can go through and see some of these things. Let's see what
it has to be in large print for me.
That's right, exactly. It's got to be on the big screen for you. For me, I can kind of read it. We'll see what we got here. I see something. Did you cover anything about a Q*bert cabinet?
Oh, one guy said that he was working on a Kubert cabinet.
Yeah,
him and his son were building
I see
one.
of those. Well, I see a Kubert cabinet for $5.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you already talk about that?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Okay, so I'm already
Just a
behind.
little bit.
I'm catching back up. Sorry, guys. My wife thinks I'm a hoarder because of all of the games I've got.
Right.
I can understand that. I think my wife would too. She would never say it directly to me, but that's probably the case here.
She tolerates it.
That's right, exactly. So, somebody said Tim nailed it.
Okay.
Oh, that's a thumbs up right there. So, I see Louis said an 11. On a scale from 1 to 10, he gave you an 11.
Oh, I thought that was how many games he had.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's how many games he had.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I see a 15 out of 10. I said he did 11. So I think it was good.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll continue on. So, guys, we do have some pre-prepared questions like we always do, but we also want to take your questions. So if you have anything for us as we go throughout the show, please leave them in the live chat and let us know. Tim, talking about Christmas gifts, I got this cool Mario hat.
I like
and
that
I got
hat.
this cool Mario shirt for Christmas, so I'm very proud about both those things. Got some other video game things as well. A Super NES Classic Edition, of course, the one that you guys saw that I held up in, in the October episode. I actually got to open it.
Right.
And so now I can play it, which I'm excited about too. So hopefully, I haven't played it, Tim, but that's the thing. I took it out of the box, put it in the case, but I haven't hooked it up anywhere yet.
That's when you know you're busy.
Exactly.
You don't even have time to play it, and you've been waiting for it for months.
And let's talk about this for a second too. So next month, Tim, right? We're going to do a live show supposedly on like the 1st or 2nd. I can't remember what the first Thursday is. One of those two. Well, that's about the time that our baby is due.
Right.
So we may not have a live show next month, just depending on how the schedule falls. So in fact, it's probably a pretty good what would you say, pretty good guess that we're not going to have a live show next month.
Maybe not.
If we do, it'll be
I'm
later.
not doing it by myself.
Okay, you're not doing it by yourself. Apparently, you did very well. People are in the chat room talking good things about you. You could do it by yourself. I could run this to the board, so no.
I don't know about that.
Okay, not again. So
It'd be dry.
well, we should go ahead and get to the questions here, Tim.
Yeah.
Now, the first one we have here is from Blake. So let's go ahead and move over to that real quick. And Blake says, "Hello, I'm about to purchase a Galaga-style multicade using a JAMA board, and I was wondering if there's any way I could get Galaga 88, Galaga 2, on it. For some reason, Galaga 88 isn't on JAMA, and it's a bummer because it's my favorite game of all time. Is there any way to somehow get it on my cabinet?" Okay, Tim, so we have Blake, and he's got a Galaga 88 game, or he wants to be able to play Galaga 88 on his multicade cabinet. Now, he's buying a Galaga-style multicade cabinet, but it does not have it on it right now.
So he probably has like a 60-in-1.
Right.
Which has Galaga, but doesn't have Galaga 88.
Exactly. So he wants to know what can he do in order to make this Galaga-style multicade that he's picking up play Galaga 88.
Well, the fortunate thing is that Galaga 88 is JAMA.
Right.
So if it's wired JAMA, he could find a Galaga 88 board and just switch his harness over when he wants to play Galaga 88.
Sure.
Or even simpler solution, the 412-in-1, the ELF board, has Galaga 88 on it.
Right.
So he could upgrade to that board and not have to switch boards.
Right. In fact, a lot of multicade builders, Tim, will let you do that upgrade for a nominal fee.
Okay.
We offer that whenever we build cabinets for people that if they'd rather have the 60-in-1 or the 412-in-1, you just pay the difference in the board price, right? Whatever that is. So, yeah, so what he could do, I'm with you here, Tim, he could just get a Galaga 88 board, plug it into his multicade, and it should work because it's JAMA. There may be some issues if the grounds are not, like the grounds at the end of the harness sometimes with multicade boards are a little tricky.
Right.
But if it's a 60-in-1, it should be okay.
Should be easy.
Right, it should be okay, because 60-in-1's pretty standard JAMA. Now, like you said, or he could just get the 412-in-1 board, do the swap from the 60 to the 412, and I think that would be good. So let's go ahead and throw that up on the outline here, Tim, because that's exactly what we said. So yes, there are a couple ways to accomplish this. According to KLOV, the Galaga 88 board uses the JAMA standard, so you should be able to plug it directly into your JAMA wired Galaga multicade cabinet, and it should play. Galaga 88 is also available on the 412-in-1 Game Elf board, so you could take out the board that's currently installed in the multicade cabinet and install this board instead. And Tim, we should mention that we have a great video on, I think, swapping boards in a JAMA cabinet.
Yes.
That you should check out if you want to do that. If you're not familiar with the process, it's not hard. For these games, Tim, there's no kick harness. So it's literally just the JAMA harness that you're going to be moving. And so you basically unplug one board from the JAMA harness, plug another one in, just making sure that you've got the parts and solder sides right, and you should be in good shape.
Now, one thing I've never done, but it is possible, and I'm sure somebody out there sells a kit to where you could do a switchable, harness.
Yeah, you can get the 2-in-1 or 8-in-1.
Really, all you would need to do, though, is wire wire up a switch on the front of your game where the 12 volts went to that switch to one board when you hit it up.
the voltage, right?
The voltage, and then the other board when you did the other one. You could do something like that.
Right.
I've never done that, but I know that some people sell that. But just as easy to me, I would just go ahead and get the 412 board.
And if you've got the 60-in-1, I believe the 412-in-1 plays everything the 60-in-1 does anyway.
Right. So you're kind of getting even more games for not much more money.
Exactly.
And that if he wants to play that, and I can understand that if that's his game and likes it. I think we got a question in the chat room.
We do, so we'll go ahead and leave Blake's question. But Blake, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting Galaga 88 on this Galaga multi-cade cabinet that you just recently purchased. And Tim, I don't know if anybody else's favorite game in the chat room over here is Galaga 88, but it is. Let us know, because I'm not a big fan. I like the classic.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Galaga 88 just doesn't play the same to me. What about you?
It's kind of different, and it just doesn't have the same feel, but I like it okay. I'll play it.
There you go. Okay, so we do have some questions in the live chat, so we're going to go to those real quick before we go to our next prepared question here. And it looks like we have one from YouTube Punk. He says, if you acquired a Dynamo HS1 generic cabinet, what should you do with it? Pandora's box, he says, like question. So the nice thing about Dynamo cabinets, we should say this up front, Tim, is that they're pretty generic.
Right.
You can put pretty much any game that you want to in it. Now, let's say you only had that one cabinet. I think the best option would be for you to put a multi-cade board in it. What do you think?
Probably. So, we've had this discussion before, and you like Dynamo cabinets a lot, and I dislike them a lot. I mean, not...
It depends on the one, right? It depends on the Dynamo.
Yeah, because I like to be, I guess because I'm old school, working on Pac-Man and stuff, I like to be able to open up the back of the game.
Some Dynamos do. I mean,
there's a few.
Yeah, I was about to say, I have two right there that open up just three.
Right.
Three where the backs open up just fine. There are some where it doesn't. No, that one does not.
And, in the drawer, you like those.
Yes, I like the drawer.
That's never been my favorite because I like getting in the back of games and working on them. And that's just a preference.
Right.
But if you only had one, and that's what I would do, I'd probably multi-cade it, especially that's what it was made for. It was a generic cabinet. We're not a big fan of tearing up a classic to put 60-in-1 or something in, so I would do that too.
Well, and here's the thing too, Tim, is that a lot of times you have your game to the back of a wall if you've got on location. Right. And the reason why I like the shelf system is because I can keep the game where it is, pull out the shelf and swap the board and put it back in.
That's true.
And so that without having to move
if you do a lot of board swapping, I can see where that would really come in.
And so that's why I like the shelf system. A lot of people are mixed on that, but for me personally, I prefer the shelf because I have the ability to take it out, plug in another board, and then put it back in.
Good point.
There you go. Okay, what else do we have here? John, how do you guys put a CPO on a control panel where the control panel has sharp bends? I find that the CPO cracks over time. I have a TNF machine. I'm trying to track and field. Track and field machine, and the CPO cracked not too long ago after installation. So where it's got sharp bends. How do you go about putting a control panel on where it's got sharp bends?
Well, I think one thing that helps, it really makes a difference who you get your artwork from and the quality of artwork.
Absolutely.
Having said that, it still is, I understand where he's coming from. I have actually put in some filler, like some Bondo or something, and rounded a little bit before.
Right.
Although I like to keep things as natural and realistic as possible. So, we've done it. I remember doing Stan's track and field in particular.
Right.
We literally, you just kind of pull it and get one side as straight as possible, get all the top, and then go down was easier for us.
Well, and I also think like clamps.
Yeah.
Clamps are like your best friend. Make sure that so when you have that sharp bend, try to clamp it down on that bend so that it actually sticks within that crevice. And I know it's hard to do that, but you can also try bending back the artwork just a hair. Where that crevice is. But the problem is a lot of times, like you said, you'll crack it.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful. And a lot of times what I'll do is roll it, not necessarily bend it.
Right.
So we'll roll it to where it's going that direction, like you'd roll up a poster, for instance.
Use plenty of Windex.
Right.
And stuff like that, so where it's still pliable, a little movable, will keep that cracking from happening.
So roll it back, roll it into that sharp edge and over, and then clamp it, and then keep it like that until it dries. And a lot of times it'll stick pretty well. I mean, we had I think a PlayChoice 10 where it was a little tricky because it kind of has that little bump up at the top, and we did that on it, and it lasted for a pretty long time. Unfortunately, that artwork was cheap, and that's really where it comes down to here, John, is that you really want to make sure you get high quality artwork.
The better quality artwork, the easier it's going to be, no matter what the bin.
Exactly. So, we have a lot of artwork suppliers, Tim, on our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources, where you can get your artwork from places that we recommend that will help you out with that if you're looking for quality places. So, okay, what else do we have here? Do elf boards get updated like Pandora's? You can get SD cards for them that will do upgrades, but I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times, the newer boards are faster, and so if you do a game upgrade on like an older board, a Game Elf board, it won't play as well as the new boards. The nice thing is that there are some resellers of these boards, Tim, that will take your old boards and trade. And so, if you have an older Game Elf board, you may talk to the guy you bought it from and say, hey, I'd really like to upgrade to whatever. Let's say you have a 352-in-1 vertical and you really want to upgrade to like a 412-in-1 vertical, right? Same board, really, but I mean, it's just the upgrade version. Talk to the guy you bought the 352 from if he has a 412. See if he'll do the upgrade for you. Sometimes they will. They won't always, okay? But sometimes they'll take your old board and trade, and you can get a little bit of cash and get the new version of the board for not too much more. So, which is really handy. So, I mean, you can't upgrade the games on them, but like I said, usually we're not only upgrading the games, but we're upgrading the processors too on them. So, okay, let's see what else we got here. I'm looking through the chat room. Do a live repair video in place. We've thought about that. Maybe at some point, Christopher will do that. It really just depends. We've talked about that before. The problem is that, a lot of times we do a lot of edits, but we can do that. I mean, I don't think it'd be hard.
The live blooper reel is what it would be called.
Exactly. Let's see. Do you use... Okay, let's see. I'm looking at some other things here. Phoenix Arcade. A lot of people say Phoenix Arcade for the artwork. That's a good place to get your artwork from. I think everything else we'll hold off on
right now. We'll go into our next question.
I think we will. So we will move on to the next prepared question here, guys. And the next one is from Cyrene Q. I guess is the best way to say that. Cyrene Q. Yeah, we'll just say it like that. Do you need a special power outlet to run a Crane game machine? I've been wanting to get one, but my mom keeps saying that it won't work on a regular outlet. Will it? Okay, Tim, I found this question very interesting.
Right.
Because his mom said that, it won't work on a regular outlet, and remember Bobby Boucher's mom said that foosball was the devil.
Right?
Okay, so sometimes we have to be careful, but it may not be that your mom is familiar with arcade games, may just be guessing at this. But Tim, give us the lowdown. Can we use a Crane game on a regular outlet?
Yes, assuming that we're talking about a game like we have here in the United States where it runs on 110. I'm sure even overseas that, yes, it should plug into your standard wall outlet.
Right.
Now, here's one thing that we like to talk to people about, especially when we sell any game, all your games. You really should look at a power surge protector. I don't know about everywhere, but I do know here that in Texas, we get a lot of power surges, especially in the summer. When the air conditioner will kick on, you'll see the lights dim for just a second because of that big power surge. And those are not very good for games. Also, if you live in a colder climate, games in the winter, there's a lot of static electricity and so forth. So having a rubber mat or something around your games is a good idea. So although it does use a regular standard outlet, I highly recommend just about any game that especially one that you care a lot about, that you put a surge protector in between, either built in on the outlet or one in between the outlet and the game.
There you go. And I think that's great advice there, Tim. I mean, and all the games that we have here in my game room, of course, on surge protectors, just in case. But, I mean, any way that we can protect it from some of those brownouts, blackouts that you may get is a good idea. Now, let's talk about some details here real quick. And, I have all my games on UPS, is what Louis says. If you've got uninterruptible power supplies to plug them up to, that's even better. The problem is that depending on how many games you have, it can be expensive.
Right.
Because UPSs are expensive.
But you can run several games off of one.
Right.
And generally, we try to run not more than about 4 games or 5 off of one, and probably not more than, say, 5 or 6 off of one circuit breaker, if
Exactly.
possible.
Right,
So,
because you don't want to overload it.
yeah, they
obviously.
don't take a lot of amps. We did a video and stuff on this. Remember, a long time ago, we proved a toaster takes a lot of amps in your house.
Right, because
a
of
video
heat.
game is just a few amps, but those do add up. If you've got a 15 amp breaker and you got 5 games, you're really pushing it.
Exactly.
So-
Somebody said power strips are surge protectors, right? Nope.
No.
Make sure you get a surge protector.
Yeah.
If you go to the dollar store and you pick up a power strip, it's probably not a surge protector.
Right, you actually want to get one. I think it's about 20,000 joules is how it's.
They're all Joule rated,
Right.
Nowadays. But I mean, the Joules are not as important as just making sure that it does have adequate surge protection.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the key. It should have usually it has a little LED light on it or something that'll say surge, and it will tell you that it's sometimes they have one that says grounded too. That'll tell you if it's grounded properly as well. So, but
good
yeah,
idea. Not-
strips and
not the
and
Harbor
protectors,
Freight,
not the same.
just a strip.
Right, exactly. So let's go ahead and show this, Tim, because there's a couple other details I wanted to bring out here. No, most crane games do not require a special power outlet in order to work properly. Remember that coin-operated games are designed to be played in a variety of different locations so that operators can put them almost anywhere and make money.
Very
okay,
true.
and so that's what you have to remember. As such, the vast majority of coin-operated games use standard power outlets, Type A and B. Tim, Type A with just a 2-prong, Type B with the 2-prong and a ground sockets, and they run off of the common voltage for the country. Here in the United States, for you guys who are here, that would be about 110, 120 volts AC at 60 hertz.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who are here. But yes, of course, the games are designed to run anywhere, Tim, because
Right.
we want to be able to put them anywhere and make money, right?
Right.
I mean, you saw games in gas stations. You saw, I've seen crane games in gas stations,
Sure.
Walmarts. If they took special power outlets, that'd be a big investment for those companies to put a crane game somewhere, right?
Sure would
Because
be.
you'd have to not only put the game there, you'd have to have the electrical run for it too.
Right.
So yes, Siren Q, your mom, unfortunately on this one, she may just not know, Tim. We'll just
Right.
say that she's not informed. But no, you don't need any
I
kind of
think
special
Mom doesn't
outlet.
want him to have a crane
And
game.
that's what I was thinking too, Tim. I didn't want to say that though.
But I bet Mama has a stove.
Yeah, I bet so.
And it has a special outlet.
It does, and a dryer.
Right.
And it has a special outlet, right?
So she needs to ease up and let him have a game.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
I agree. So, well, Siren Q hopefully answers your question. And yes, crane games use pretty much the same standard outlets that everything else uses here.
I think
in the
it's
United
cool
States.
that you've seen more people are collecting crane games now.
Oh, yeah.
Before, it was like only
It was
for
a throwaway.
right.
Right, yeah.
Now it seems my daughter loves crane games. She's good at them
people love
too.
crane games. So, hey, I will say this: the last crane game I played, it was 4 plays for $1. I won twice.
Oh wow!
Just saying. Got some skills. A lot of practice, Tim. So anyway, hopefully, Siren Q, hopefully answers your question. And man, get a crane. How
Yeah.
about that? Okay, we'll continue on. I do see some questions here in the live chat, Tim,
Okay.
so we're going to go ahead and go to those. Text JYT says, I am restoring a mispack and I need to replace the back door interlock switch.
Okay.
I have been told that they are nothing but trouble and to leave it off. What is your opinion on that interlock or no interlock? So for you guys that don't know, we talked about interlock switches last time on the live show. Basically, the interlock switch is the switch that the door presses whenever you close it. So
Right.
whenever you lock the door, it depresses the interlock switch, engaging the AC voltage, okay? And so when you take the door off, it disengages the AC voltage and the interlock comes off. You can also pull out interlock switches, like we've talked about a lot of
Right.
times, and activate them without having the door on. But, I mean, Text JYT's question here is a good one, Tim. Do we need the interlock switch? Is it worth replacing it, or should I just wire around it, or
Well,
what?
I would say it has its the reason there is for safety.
Exactly. If
Okay,
somebody
so-
opens the cabinet, right?
Right.
Doesn't know what they're doing, it cuts the AC to it to make sure they don't hurt themselves, right?
Exactly. That's the reason it's there, or so it didn't work if somebody would open it up and try to get free coins or something if
Right.
the door was left unlocked. So it's there for safety. So it's hard to broadcast that, oh, you don't need a safety thing.
Right.
But if you are the only person in there that ever gets in there and you want to bypass it,
And this is going to be in your house. You're not going to have it on location, right?
I don't have a problem with it. But if you have kids around, and
Or it's
they're-
going to be on location.
or on location or something, I would highly recommend it. Now, here is something quickly that you can do that will save you a little time without having to rewire it and stuff. I've seen this a lot of times. So when you're looking at the back of the game, that thing is pointing at you like my finger is right now, okay? What you can do is unscrew it here and turn it down so that it's pulled out and it still works and you don't have to rewire it. Just move it.
Right.
And instead of pushing it in, you pull it out. if it's the kind that can pull out and then thereby it stays interlocked all the time, and you don't have to worry about it when you take off the back door, especially on like a Miss Pac-Man cabinet. That's what I would do. And,
right.
And then if you ever needed it, you could just quickly flip it back around, and there you go. It's good to go.
There you go.
So, it kind of depends. I've done it both ways. There's been games where they just irritated me all the time. Every time or if I'm in the back of it a lot.
Right.
Well, we have a game in particular at Chuck E. Cheese where I just really want to take that thing and throw it in the trash. But then I remember I'm not the only person that gets in here, and it has some mechanical parts. And if somebody was to get in there and get hurt, I'd feel bad for a few minutes. And then I would, I just wouldn't want anybody to get hurt. So it's more of a safety issue than anything. And if you feel like that you can do it safely and not have to worry about it, then by all means take it out. But if you have kids or on location or other people that could be in the back of your game, you don't want to get hurt, then just leave it in there. It's not really that big a deal.
Sounds
Once
good.
you learn how to kind of work around them, just pull it and open the door and pull it, and you're good.
There you go. So TXJYT, hopefully I answered your question. Yeah, I mean, I think replacing it, he says it's bad. So I think replacing it's a good idea because that way you can keep everything originally intact. It looks like Louis found one for $6.
Yeah.
I mean, so $6, go ahead and replace it. Now, whether or not you want that to where you actually engage it with the back door, that's a different thing. Like you said, it may be best for you just to turn it and keep it there in case you ever want to engage it. You don't have to.
And I've seen games, there was a SpongeBob Pineapple game, which gives you a card.
Right.
That at a Chuck E. Cheese, they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't work. And all it was it wasn't hitting every time. The back door wasn't shutting quite right. So, it kind of, sometimes you just have to adjust them a little bit, move them in and out. But they're good for what they are.
There's a reason they're there.
There's a reason they're there. And I'm kind of that way. If a game had something, I like to keep things as original as possible. Figure there's a reason they put it there. Somebody down the line got shocked or hurt or something. So I like to keep that to where nobody gets hurt. Could be a cat, could be a dog, something like that. Who knows?
Okay, and he says, awesome, we'll do that thing. So there you go, TXJYT. Hopefully I answers your question. Now, YouTube Punk says, the skill crane from the slide, any idea what model that is? I like it. This is a clean sweep, Tim. I'm going to put it back up here.
I do know that.
Wrong one. There we go. Clean sweep, Tim. This is a very common crane. You see this quite a bit. So
Smart Crane Industries, which is
Smart
still
Industries. That's
Smart
right.
Industries, which is still in business today.
But their cranes are much more advanced now than the old clean sweep.
What is cool is if you can find one of these, they still basically work the new. So you could kind of gut it and put new boards and new stuff in it, and it would work just fine. And you could kind of convert it, and they're very friendly, very helpful people. Even if you got a really old one, they even helped me on some really old clean. Just that same machine. I think it's almost like one we've had before. We had
I was about
one
to say,
just like that.
we've had who knows how many clean sweeps.
Yeah.
And that clean sweep is a very common one. It was that and Kramer cranes, it seems like. I've seen a million clean sweeps and Kramer cranes over the years. But clean sweeps, Tim, you see them all over the place still.
Yeah.
I mean, even now. And I mean, most of those were manufactured in the 80s and 90s. So just to give you an idea, very good crane. So yeah, there you go, YouTube Punk. Hopefully that answers your question. Well, Tim, I think we covered everything in the chat, so we'll continue on here with the questions. And the next one is from Sean. Sean says, hello, I recently purchased a Neo Geo MVS one-slot cab. Every once in a while, the screen goes out, but the game continues to run. If the cab is turned off and turned on, the picture comes back. Direction to a video or any info would be greatly appreciated. Love the channel, and thank you. Okay, Tim, so we have Sean here. He's got a Neo Geo MVS system, and every once in a while, the screen will just boom. Off.
Yeah.
Like, just totally turn off. But the game will continue to run. Like, so basically, like, he's playing Metal Slug or whatever he's playing. Game will just go black. He can still hear the game. Everything's playing, but the screen is black, right?
Right.
And that's what we're going to. So, if he turns the cabinet off, turns it back on, the screen comes back on. Okay, so that's where we are with Sean. So what do you think is going on with Sean's Neo Geo MVS monitor?
Well, it's a symptom that we call high voltage shutdown, and that, a number of things can cause it.
Right.
It can be something really simple as an interlock switch.
Yeah, right.
Or it could be like a cold or cracked solder joint.
Right.
A lot of times just a bump or something that you're just sitting there playing that jiggle a little bit. Make sure your neck board is on there really good. But usually when this starts to happen, at least pretty regular, it's good time to check your B+ voltage. maybe do a cap kit on it. Could just be a cap that's failing. It's getting kind of hot and shutting down.
Right.
So I would definitely rebuild the monitor if you want to keep the game and try to do that. But by all means, start off simple with like cold solder joints. And where we're talking about is like on the back of the chassis where the power comes in,
right,
and where the video outputs and those wires that come in from your motherboard. Those are some areas that you should hit right off the bat. But it could be anywhere on that board. It could be just one capacitor, or it could be somewhere around the neck or something. So it's kind of an irritating deal when you have to turn your game off and on to make that work and stuff. So it's a good time to go ahead and get a cap kit and go ahead and rebuild that monitor while you got it.
Yeah, and Tim actually had a Gyrus that had this issue as well, and it ended up being a cracked solder joint where, it was just a little cap, had a little cracked solder joint on it, and when it made contact, monitor fired, but if we moved it just a hair, monitor wouldn't come on at all. And it was a cracked solder joint right on that high voltage line. And so you have to really look at that. That's where the issues are going to be. So let's go ahead and throw this up here,
and
Tim,
what we're talking about is the B plus area, the power supply section of your monitor.
Right. So if you follow where the power comes into your monitor, you follow the lines all around, you're going to get through that power supply section.
Right. It's probably right in that area specifically.
Right.
So if you just, instead of just touching up every single solder joint, work in that area. Shouldn't take you but 2 minutes to touch them all up and see if that solves your problem.
And if you're able to test, if your monitor allows you to test the B plus voltage when your monitor goes down, that will tell you whether or not you're still getting voltage or not. Which really at that point you probably are not. And so that's just one way though to test to see if we're still getting high voltage at that point. So let's throw this up here. This is a symptom known as high voltage failure, high voltage shutdown, Tim, like you mentioned. Start off this repair by looking at for any cold, cracked, or broken solder joints on the chassis and touch them up. Pay close attention to the B plus and high voltage lines, as the problem is probably in this area. We put could be, but is probably in this area. If the problem continues, installing a cap kit like you mentioned, Tim. Let's check the flyback as well. Let's make sure that those things are functioning properly, because Tim, those are also parts that are on the B plus voltage line, or on the high voltage line, obviously. So we want to make sure that all that is working well. But Tim, it could be also a bad cap that just like after a while, it doesn't want to allow the high voltage through anymore.
Right.
It's like it heats up, boom, it like stops the voltage. So. But a lot of times, if it's working and then it shuts off, probably cold or cracked solder joint, but could be a part failing due to heat or electrical failure or something.
Yeah, it could be like a filter cap or something.
Mm-hmm.
So usually a small cap.
Right, there you go. So,
to be honest.
So, Sean, hopefully that answers your question. So, yeah, let's check for broken solder joints, cracked cold solder joints, all in that chassis, especially along the high voltage lines. And then make sure that any caps that are on that line or in the power supply section of the monitor are replaced if they look bad, or maybe just replace them just in case. Tim, unfortunately, those filter caps are usually tiny values. And so telling if they're bad or not is sometimes difficult.
Right.
And so you could see a cap that looks good, but is actually bad a lot of times in those sections. So definitely, if you have an ESR meter or something to check those with, do that. But if not, it may be good just to replace all the caps in the high voltage section just as a precaution. And then again, horizontal output transistor, Tim, flyback, those are always good things to check when we have high voltage issues.
Sure. Or if you're going to rebuild it, just might as well knock it all out.
Exactly. So, Sean, hopefully that answers your question. And good luck getting that Neo Geo MVS system 100% up and running all the time, right, Tim?
Right.
Not just the first 20 minutes or whatever.
Right.
So there you go. Okay, guys, we have some more questions in the live chat, and it looks like we have one from John. He says, what kind of rug sliders for Under My Game should I buy? They stopped sliding easy after a while. All my friends collect arcades complain about this too. So, rug sliders Under My Game should I buy? So, and I've noticed this too, because I have rug sliders too, Tim. After a while, those things, they just...
Yeah, break.
They break.
The games are heavy.
Exactly.
Really, Stan always liked to put wheels on the bottom of his.
Right, like going with full-blown casters, right?
Right, with caster wheels, but that
Lockable.
Lockable. but that always made the game seem a little higher and a little off to me.
Makes it easy to move, though.
I don't have the deal is I get them from Chuck E. Cheese through the corporate office, and we get a bag of them, and we just go through them, and when they break, we move them. So I don't really have a good answer. I would assume that there probably are more heavy duty ones, and we'd have to do a little more research on
Right,
that.
because I mean, we've always bought the cheap ones too. I buy the Harbor Freight Special when they go on sale.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the ones I get are less than $1 each. I'm sure, you
Right.
know, way less.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
They're cheap.
Yes.
But and what do we do when they break? We
We
replace
just-
them. Just go get another thing. Because what are they like? I think the Harbor Freight ones are $5 for like a set of 8. You get the 4 small ones and 4 big ones. Mm-hmm. So I mean, for $4 or $5, you can just go buy another set when they break. I mean, you know. But it looks like Louis has actually recommended some at Home Depot. So there may be some better, like you said, better ones.
Yeah,
out there.
I would assume you get what you pay for. If they
Right.
cost more, they probably should last longer.
Now, I'm lucky that I don't have carpet in here. I have floor.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not as much of an issue on floor. But if you've got carpet, it's definitely an issue trying to get games moved. So, I understand that. So, okay.
But
Let's see. He's got
casters
another one
may be a way to go.
here. Right, exactly.
If you don't
put-
mind them.
Yeah, and
I tell you what, it sure was nice in Stan's game room. We could rearrange the whole game room in just minutes, just rolling them around.
Exactly. So, and make sure you get the lockable ones. And this, the one that
What you really need to look
recommends
for is
on there.
one that weight. If
Right.
you could, if you find one that's really heavy duty for weight, 'cause I think the ones I buy probably aren't.
Yeah,
you know.
mine either. So, but Louis posted some links there. Thank you, Louis, for some that he uses from Home Depot, Tim, which may
good.
work better. If you're gonna go caster out, Tim, make sure you get lockable ones because you don't want the game moving. Like when you're pulling them, you can get like two that aren't and 2 that are. So
Agreed.
it does keep it in place because you want to keep the game in place if you're gonna go that route. So, and I believe that's what Stan always did.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. Okay, so John, hopefully answers your question. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we don't know of any better brands.
I wish I knew of some that I could recommend. If we can, somebody else wants to chime in, please do. If you've had any success with
And
that.
Louis says the ones that he recommended were higher quality.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric is in the chat room. Hey, Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. So let us continue on here. And Eric is also one of our admins, which is why he's in the chat, so he can post links and things like that. So you guys can say hi to Eric there. He also is one half of the Question and Answer podcast duo, which is now him and Rusty. So you guys
Okay.
make sure that you check that out if you haven't already. So, okay, Tim, let's go to Salone. Okay, that's our next prepared question. Salone says, hello. A while back, my Magic Sword arcade game started having monitor issues. It portrays an image 3 times horizontally, and it rolls across upwards. I had a repair guy come by, but when he came by, I wasn't here. He tried adjusting it and told my wife that he knew what was wrong, but he'd have to take it to his shop to fix it. He didn't tell her what was wrong though, so I'm at a loss there. Any thoughts? Thank you. Now, Tim, I should say that a repair guy not going to tell you what's wrong with it because, I mean, telling you what's wrong with it defeats the purpose of him repairing it and you paying him, right? So, I mean, he's not going to tell you what's wrong with it unless you're going to, pay him something, right?
Right.
Exactly. So, the whole point why he didn't pay or why he didn't tell you is because he does want to pay for it. And so, Tim, what's going on here, though? Magic Sword is an interesting game, but it sounds like he's gotten like 3 images across and scrolling upwards and all this kind of stuff.
Well, the scrolling sounds like the key word to me that it may be out of sync.
Right.
And although I would have to say that if you get in 3 distinct images, it could be switchable between medium res and high res and low res.
Standard res and medium res.
I have accidentally hit that switch. Did this happen after you were in there working or did something or bumped it? I've done that, and it'll give you 3 images. So he's a couple things he's saying. 3 images makes me think it could be that.
Now, here's the deal, though, Tim. Magic Sword a lot of times is a 19-inch monitor, and we don't see too many switchable 19s. They're available.
Right.
They're out there,
That
but
is true.
They're not as common as like what you have with 25s, 27s, 33s, and stuff like that. We see more of those that are switchable.
But the key word of the scrolling just makes me think that it's just out of sync.
Right.
And hopefully he could just adjust it. So both his horizontal and his vertical pots. He could play with those and get it back into sync. Would help to know exactly what kind of monitor he has because we do know that Geo7 oftentimes has sync issues.
Right,
and
there's a sync fix for that, right?
Right, so, but that'd be my guess just based on what he told us.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here, Tim. Now, here's the deal, too, Tim, and you mentioned sync, but I'd also think a hold issue. So this monitor picture that we have here on the slide, Tim, this is a hold issue, but it kind of looks like there's 4 images there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering if that's what he's saying, like 3 images, 4 images, whatever the case may be. So from the description he gave us, though, it does sound like sync and hold issues, maybe a combination of the two, right?
Right.
Like we're getting a little bit of both. And in most cases, you can solve these type of problems by adjusting the arcade monitor. With that said, there are times where you may have to replace parts on the monitor chassis in order to restore the picture. Now, Tim, another thing we didn't mention is that there's a sync wire that goes from the board to the monitor chassis, and you need to make sure that's making a good connection as well.
Yeah, I have seen those come loose or come out or get pinched and things like that. So usually your white wire.
Red, green, blue, ground, and sync. And so you want to make sure that sync wire is making a good connection to your monitor chassis because they can cause sync issues as well. Let's go ahead and throw this back up here. If adjusting the monitor does not solve your issue, again, cold, cracked, or broken solder joints located along the sync line. And again, just look at where the sync wire comes in from the board, trace it around, see if there's any cold or cracked solder joints on that line, and then test and replace any parts along this line as well. Tim, there could be transistors, caps, chips. It just really depends on what type of monitor as to what kind of parts may be involved in the sync line. And so, it could be a transistor issue, could be a cap issue, could be a chip even, could be related to a chip issue. And so, at that point, what you'll need to do is if you know the model of your monitor, you can look that up, of course, and figure out some information. But if you don't know the model, then you may have to find the model in order to really get into what could be going on with the sync issue. Tim, anything else for Salone here before we move on?
No, I think that covers that one pretty good.
Okay, so Salone hopefully answers your question. Again, probably a combination of hold and sync issues. Let's try adjusting the monitor first, and if that doesn't work, let's check the hardware stuff, Tim. Let's check to make sure our sync wire is in place coming from our board. Let's look for cracked, cold, or broken solder joints along the sync line, and then let's look at some parts along that sync line as well that may be causing us issues. So hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that magic sword back up and running. Okay, Tim, I think this is our last one for the prepared ones, and this is from John. Okay, so we'll throw this up here real quick. And John says, okay, so I hooked up a Game Elf 412-in-1 multicade board to my Miss Pac-Man cocktail table. I added a TV screen with a VGA connector, and it worked. Very cool. So I then ripped, I like how he says ripped here, Tim. I ripped it all back apart to clean up and route the wiring nicely. When I did this, I hooked up pin 3 to the -5 terminal on the power supply and saw smoke. Now, Tim, we all know that the pin 3 should probably be +5 instead of -5, correct. I unplugged it immediately, wired it correctly, and now I get a no video signal message. My question to you is, would it be as simple as a capacitor or something? Would you know what smoked? Should I just get another board? I am looking to buy 3 more conversions in the very near future. Okay, Tim, so I think this has happened to all of us at some point. We hooked the wrong voltage to the wrong place.
Right.
It's basically what happened. So instead of sending +5 to pin 3 on a JAMA like like we normally do, he sends his -5 volts line along that voltage line, and then he sees smoke.
I'm kind of surprised that it smoked it, but
Me too, because a lot of times there's protection for that, but not always. So, and especially on these multicade boards, they're made very cheaply. I think we've talked about that before, Tim. And so those protections may not be built into the board.
And most of them I've seen, John, are really hard, or I would say more of an advanced type of
the
board
problem
repair.
Exactly. The problem is that everything is super tiny. Okay,
right.
And then everything is surface mounted.
Right.
And so you got super tiny surface mounted things that you're trying to fix, and it makes it very difficult for you to try to fix.
Yes, was it a capacitor? I mean,
could be.
It could be, but I really don't know. Most of the time, if it is, you'll know it, or you'll see it, or you'll see burnt places where there's smoke, there's fire. So look at those areas that are burned. You'd have to, because that board comes in like a case, right?
Right, exactly. So
You'd have to take
it
that
out
apart.
Of the case.
At that point, I'm just saying, based on your level of skill, knowledge, and stuff, of course, I would take it apart and try to monkey with it.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we're not talking, it may just be time to just replace the board, just get another one, or talk to the person you bought the board from. Maybe they would be willing to give you a credit or something. I'm not sure, but...
Right, so let's go ahead and throw this up here, Tim. From your description, definitely sounds like you damaged the board. The easiest and fastest way to get your game back up and running would be to see if you can return it to the place you bought it from, or just purchase a new board. You could also try powering the board through the Molex connector to see if it'll work that way. And Tim, that's something I threw on here because, these 412-in-1 boards, they have a Molex 4-pin voltage connector as well.
Okay.
And so instead of powering it through the JAMA, you could try powering it through that Molex connector and see if it works. Okay?
That'd be a good idea.
Because that it may be that whatever you damaged was through the JAMA, was through the JAMA line, not necessarily through the Molex line.
I got you.
And so it may be worth trying the Molex line just to see if it if it makes a difference. So, I mean, it probably won't, but I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the way the board is set up to know for sure. So, it's probably not a capacitor issue. Could be. Never know. It's probably a problem with one of several of the surface-mounted parts, which can be very difficult to replace. We're talking about tiny, tiny, tiny parts, and we're talking about all surface-mounted. So, I mean, it's not like the boards in the 80s, Tim, where you could take your gigantic desoldering iron to all of the different, solder points and get it off there. If you did that to this, you'd be touching like 5 points.
Right, probably so.
So you can't do that on these boards. They're very, very difficult to repair, Tim, and there's not a lot of information on them
without the right tools.
Right, exactly. Without the right tools. That's a good way to say it.
And that's some of those tools, the average repair person's not going to have that we deal with.
Right. So there you go. So yeah, I think, John, in this particular case, we're going to recommend just replacing the board. Now, you might try contacting the person you bought it from. Like Tim said, they may give you credit. Okay, I don't think they're going to cover the entire board, but they may give you a little bit of credit, and that credit could help purchase a new board, which is very important, right?
Right.
So, I mean, and here's the deal we found with most of our suppliers that we recommend. They're very understanding.
Most of them are.
And so, like, they know that voltage things happen. Look, they're not going to give you, like, a complete refund, Tim.
Right.
But they may give you a little bit of credit, saying, hey, man, I feel bad for you. Here's a $10 credit, and we'll turn around and give you a new board or whatever, okay? And so they may give you something for it. So you might as well ask. That's what I would tell you. Just ask.
Right.
It's worth a shot. So, John, hopefully answers your question. Get in contact with the person you bought the board from. See if they'll give you some sort of credit on it. And if not, just order a brand new board, and it should put you back in business, provided that you hook the voltage up right. Let me put that in there. So make sure that positive 5 is going to the right place. So hopefully answer your question. Good luck with your conversion. Okay, Tim, we've had some stuff come in on the live chat. Let's see here. Let's see. All electronics work with smoke. The smoke lets electrons flow. When you let the smoke out, it no longer works. You've got to put the smoke back in. So there you go. There's Michael. Let's see. Mr. Silverball Mania says, question, I have a Rush 2049 trying to use an LCD by using the RGB to VGA converter picture is perfect. If I connect horizontal sync and vertical sync, will this hurt the board? The NT2702 monitor is shutting down. And so, yeah, shouldn't hurt the board to do the horizontal and vertical sync. So you can do that. There's no problem with that because those converter boards are kind of made for that, too.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes both of them.
Exactly.
On certain game boards and stuff, it all kind of depends. Now, it should not hurt your board to attempt that. And sometimes you have to play with, is it this one or combination of both of them? And I've seen it work many times.
Exactly. So, yeah, should be fine hooking up both the horizontal and vertical syncs to it, no problem. John says, how often should I change my batteries in my arcade games? I have a few Williams machines. And, Tim, it's funny that we should mention this because once a year is what we usually recommend.
Yep. In fact,
at the new year?
Great time.
Right.
Because we all like to get electronics or the kids get things for Christmas. It's a great time of the year. Oh, you also, wintertime, electricity going out and so forth. It's a good time to stock up on batteries, number one. They're usually on sale. Mm-hmm. A good time to get them. But pick a time of year. Maybe your birthday. Maybe the first of the summer, whatever it is.
Time change.
So we like to do it once a year. And I particularly like this time of year for doing that.
When you change the batteries in your smoke detectors, you change the batteries in your arcade games.
Yeah.
So that's what we always say. Now, if you're...
Go
ahead.
Well, what we do at work at Chuck E. Cheese, we do it twice a year.
Right.
And we do it, guess when? The time change.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we do
it. That's
the
thing that people recommend. And here's the deal. Now, if your arcade game uses coin cells, Tim, we're looking at NFL Blitz over here, has a coin cell on it.
Right.
Okay? They don't leak. Okay, so you can technically run that thing until the battery just dies. Okay,
right.
But if you're using AA batteries,
you better change
them.
Or
if you're using AAA batteries, those things will leak, which is why we need to make sure we change them on a periodic basis, right?
Yes.
So, and Louis says, I would certainly convert those batteries to NVRAM. Yes, you can. So, if you have pinball machines, they make NVRAM chips for a lot of pinball machines, which is basically a flash memory chip. It does away with the need for a battery.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can get those if you want to, and that way you don't ever have to replace the batteries ever again. That's up to you how you want to handle that. There's a lot of kits like that for arcade games as well, to where you don't need the batteries.
It is nice so that you don't have to worry about it in case you do forget.
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, once a year is usually our recommendation, or like I said, twice a year on the time change, something like that. And like I said, I don't know if you replace the batteries in your smoke detectors. A lot of people do, but if you do that, just replace them all in your arcade games when you do that as well. Now, if you're talking about CPS2 boards, those batteries can last a long time. And so you can get those Phoenix too after they die. So I mean, I say a long time. I think it's 5 years, 4 years, something like that. So I mean, it's not every game necessarily that you're going to replace the battery on every year, but the majority of games, it's a good idea to go ahead and do. So okay, I think that was it. So Tim, we are to your tech tip of the month, and so let's talk about some ways that you repair cracked, faded, or flaking artwork.
Well, I know that we don't get as many questions sometimes on restoration, but we do like to talk about it.
Sure.
And I wanted to give a tip today on if you've ever had let's say, how many of you have ever seen a Miss Pac-Man game where the bezel is starting to peel and flaky?
I'm going to throw this up here real quick. Now, that is actually from a Miss Pac-Man bezel right there.
Okay.
Tim. So just a little damage.
And so anyway, one thing that it's tempting. Of course, you flip it around and you can paint it from the back side.
Right.
And you can tape off the areas to make a good line and so forth. Use some painter's tape and stuff. But I want to throw this tip out there. If you've never tried this, it's hard to match the colors.
Yes, it is.
Unless you have the paint codes and all that. But even then, what you have on your game could be a little faded or just... I've seen Miss Pac-Man being 15 shades of blue.
Right.
So what you can do is try watercolors. And you say, well, that doesn't make any sense because as soon as it gets wet, it's going to run, right? Well,
right.
The great thing about watercolors, you can keep playing with the color until you get it really close to what you want.
So if you messed it up, it's not close enough, you wipe it off and then repaint it, right?
Exactly. If you mess up, you wipe it off and you try again.
Right.
Until you get it really close. And then the trick is, or the key is, once you're finished, you seal it with a clear coat, just some polyurethane.
Gotcha.
And that will seal and keep the watercolors from getting wet and from running. But it's just one way. Like I said, there's many ways to do it. I just want to throw that out there as a tech tip. We did that to some pinball back glasses before, and everybody was wondering how we got the colors. I could tell, if you looked really hard, you could tell it was painted, but it looked so much better than what it did look like flaking. Most people would have thrown in the trash what we did, and we turned around and painted them. And my father-in-law showed me that a long time ago, and I've always liked that trick. Just thought I would share it this month as just a kind of a restoration type tip.
And I think it's a good tip, Tim, because a lot of people, like you said, they may go to oil-based paints or something else, but the problem with that is if you don't get the match exactly correct, you're stuck, right?
Right.
You don't have anywhere to
go.
And
we've seen those where they've been painted where it's like a really dark blue, and so that's one advantage of the watercolors. They do allow you to kind of get that right before you set it in, and just something fun to do or to try. If you've never tried that, it's a good way to do it.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for that tech tip of the month, Tim. We appreciate it. Now, we had a question. Will you guys be at TPF this year? We have a room booked, and we're planning on it, but the problem is like I said, I've got a baby coming, right. So I might be exhausted. Tim, you're more than welcome to go without me. We have the room. So
I'm sure one or both of us will probably be there.
There you go. So it'll either be Tim or both of us.
And I'm sure Eric will be there, and some of our other friends and associates. So hopefully we'll all get to be there.
Right. So we'll see how it goes, though.
Yeah.
Of course. Then we have one from Snapper Cap. I have an Asteroids Deluxe that acts a little strange, especially when it's warming up. When there are very few vectors on the screen, my ship disappears. Usually firing brings it back. Idea. So we actually have the ship disappearing when when it kind of sits there for a minute, but when he fires, it kind of brings that vector back.
Yeah. Erica Hope is still in the chat room. Maybe he can chime in. It seems like that's a known board issue, if I remember.
That's what I was about to say. That sounds more like a board issue for sure. So, because just the way it acts. I mean, a monitor, unless the monitor, I guess, is fading in the middle. But, firing with it, bringing it back, that definitely sounds like a board issue of some sort. And you're way more familiar with that era game than I am.
I'm familiar with playing that era game more than working on them back in those days. So that's what I think, though. I think it's a board issue or some kind of chip on there.
Yeah, and you see Louis says possible board problem. Definitely sounds like a board problem, but again, I'm not familiar enough with Asteroids boards to know exactly where that issue is. Yeah, Eric may be able to chime in on that if he knows a little bit more about those boards. Sometimes he has a little bit more knowledge on the classic stuff like that.
Right.
So we can see if he chimes in here in a minute. Okay, well we'll talk about that here in a minute. Now I do want to cover some discussion, some stories, Tim, that have come up, of course. And so this first one, Tim. Now here's the deal. Like we posted this, and guys, we knew the story was fake, okay, which is why we didn't link to it. But we thought it was a funny story, and then something that we should probably at least tell people about so that they don't actually get conned. So here was the fake story. It was Bitcoin scam. Man arrested after making over $1 million selling Chuck E. Cheese tokens as Bitcoins. And Tim, this is from a website called Hustler, which is a known, what would you call it? One of these little spoof websites.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is a known spoof
National
website.
Enquirer.
Yeah, exactly.
Mad Magazine kind of.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So, and there's a link to the Hustler's website so you can see it. Okay. So it says, now, guys, this is fake news, and you can check Snopes to see this is definitely fake news. While the story is fake, though, it does serve as a reminder to people that Bitcoin is a digital currency and cannot be purchased like physical currency. Okay, you can't purchase Bitcoins like you purchase tokens or dollars or anything like that.
Although I think I would like to build a game that runs on Bitcoins or something.
There you go, man.
Your Bitcoin.
Oh, I mean, if you have like a Bitcoin account.
If you want to give me Bitcoin, then I will be glad to try to work that game up for you. I'll do it for 10 Bitcoins.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, this was a fake story, Tim, but still, it's an interesting one because
it's kind of funny.
Well, the problem is that every time you see Bitcoin, like in news articles and stuff, it looks like a Chuck E. Cheese token that's been, that just has a little B on it. I mean, that's the problem. And so a lot of people, I think, I understand where like that, kind of like where that idea would have come from, like, oh, it looks like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. It does kind of look like Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
It's not an actual coin. Though.
Exactly. So not an actual coin. You can't buy actual Bitcoins.
Right.
Okay. They're virtual. They're virtual currency. You can't buy them. So, but just to be on lookout, and again, Tim, public service announcement, do not buy physical Bitcoins. They don't exist. So there you go. Okay, but I thought it's a funny story. It got a lot of play, so we put it up there. Tim, the second story I thought was really interesting, and it's called Versus Super Mario Brothers is the meanest trick Nintendo ever played. And it was from Kotaku. And the thing about it is, Tim, I don't know if you've played Versus Super Mario Brothers. This is the arcade version, of course, Super Mario Brothers. Even though the NES version of Super Mario Bros. And the Versus Super Mario Bros. Look very similar, they are actually quite different. The article discusses some of these differences between the two games. Some of the differences include power blocks in different places. Warp Zone only lets you go to World 6. Some of the levels in Versus Super Mario Bros. Are taken from Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, aka the Lost levels, which, Tim, is much, 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 much more difficult. And so, Versus Super Mario Brothers, if you walked up to an arcade in the 80s, you think, I had this game at home. No, you don't.
No.
So, you don't have this
game at home. I remember that. I remember going to the bowling alley and going, oh, I'm good at this. Oh, I'm not.
No, this is not the same game.
It was definitely different.
Right, exactly. This is not the same game, guys. Versus Super Mario Bros. Is a much different game than the home version. Tim, the home version much easier. And the arcade game, made to take your tokens. Okay? That's how it comes down to. So, I mean, the Versus Super Mario Bros. Is still a fun game, but it's more of a challenge than what you're going to find with your typical American home version, right?
Right.
Japanese kids, man, they're good at that. So, but it's very interesting. But yeah, Versus Super Mario Bros. Is a totally different thing than anything else. So, don't mistake the two. And the article, Tim, has some really great information about some of the different things, that you can notice in the two. And then, Tim, I did want to talk about this, even though it's not in the outline, because we just posted it today.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm a big Cyclone fan. Okay,
right.
I love Cyclone. I play all the time. I'm pretty good at it. Okay,
yeah, you are.
I got some skill.
You do.
But there is a great article from Popular Mechanics, I believe, Tim, that talks about how Cyclone is not really a game of skill. Unfortunately, it is a game of luck.
Right,
okay, now here's the deal, Tim. You've operated Cyclone for many years.
Sure.
Tell us about some of the settings in Cyclone.
Well, you have many different settings that you can go through in the menu. You can
before we get into this, for those who don't know what Cyclone is it's a game that looks like a
big bubble.
Okay, and it has a light that goes around, and the object of the game is to stop the light when it gets into the prize zone, right? And there's only one light. There's like one light in the prize zone. You're trying to hit the button, and you're trying to get it. And so, so when it hits that button, you're trying to get there so you can win the tickets. Now, Tim, talk to the people a little bit about what goes on with that. Like, so what are some things? Tim, I have to go real quick.
Okay.
I have some stuff going on here. I will be right back. So I'm handing the show over to you for a minute.
Here we go again. Well, the way it works is you program it to where it will be easy or harder. It gets more difficult. And you can actually program a lot of games like that to only once somebody hits it, then it gets really difficult. So it's actually made to get harder and then get easier every time. So eventually somebody will win it, and then it'll get hard again. That's why the bonus starts off low and then goes up high.
Now, you can set it to where it's near impossible, right?
Right, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the deal.
You know, it'll do the little jump. You'll think you hit it, and then it'll jump on you.
So the Popular Mechanics article talks about how a guy actually programmed it to win every time. So what he did was he has a little optical sensor that watches the light as it comes around, and when it gets to that one right before, the machine pushes the button. Well, guess what? That machine did not win every time.
Right.
Okay.
Because you can't.
Right.
It's not going to win every time.
Exactly.
It's not consistent.
Right. And it just depends on how the game is set. Now, here's the thing I appreciate about places like Dave & Buster's. They set theirs to where you can actually win.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what, as an operator, for people who are operators, set your games to where people can win.
Well,
okay, because we have a philosophy here, Tim, that, you know, let's say you have a crane game, and you set it never to win, nobody will play it because nobody ever wins.
If the word to get out, nobody's ever
It's rigged,
wins
right,
it, right?
Exactly. But let's say somebody wins a toy out of that crane, okay, at a restaurant, and then they take that toy and they walk through the restaurant. Hey, I just run this out of the crane machine. What do you think everybody else is going to do?
They want to go play it.
Exactly, because they know they can win, right? There's a possibility that you can win. Somebody won. And so, you know, we always like to set them on kind of, you know, not necessarily like the easiest setting, but not necessarily the hardest, somewhere in the middle, to where, you know, you can still win, but we're going to make our money.
Most modern games have a set amount. Like, I'm not going to pay out until I get this many plays.
Exactly.
And at that, and you would want to set it. Let's say you put an Xbox One in something.
Right.
And so
Nintendo,
you would
I saw
say,
some Nintendo Switches.
So
in some
you would
games
say,
too.
until I hit 5,000 plays, don't give this out.
Right.
The second I hit 5,000 plays, make it easier.
Right.
So that somebody will win it. They'll get the big prize. They'll tell everybody, and everybody will go and play it. But don't give out another one. You'll never win back to back like that.
Exactly. So yeah. But you want to make your games to where people can actually win them, Tim. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of like the casino. You ever seen? You know how to win at the casino. You just sit there and wait till somebody hasn't won anything and plays for an hour.
And you come
when they get up and you go behind them, right?
That's right, exactly.
Because the longer you play,
the better chance you have of winning.
So if you walked up behind Cyclone, somebody just won, you better chance to come back later. If nobody's won, the bonus has been up there for a while, it's a good chance you can go
now, a lot of games have a random, though, where they'll still pay out on random intervals sometimes, too. And so, like, I told you about my crane experience where I won 2 animals on 4 plays. You know?
Right.
And
there's a little skill involved in a crane.
There's also skill involved, I agree. But, I mean, at the same time, I think there are games that'll give you that random interval, too. So just because somebody won in front of you, you may hit that random interval. It's just a whole lot harder to hit that than it is to hit the play interval, right?
Most people ask me all the time, have you ever won the bonus here on this game? And yeah, of course I have. You know how? Most of the time, I'm not even looking. I just hit the button and all of a sudden it's going off.
Right.
So that's how I usually win them, by accident.
So yeah, Cyclone and games that look like skill stop games, Tim, is what they are.
Right.
For you guys don't, skill stop is the way we refer to them. Skill stop games still require skill.
Sure.
But they are very much rigged.
Pretty much.
So, just like cranes still require skill.
Somebody will win the bonus every day. Probably not you.
There you go. So just a little information. It's a great article from Popular Mechanics. You guys can find it on our Facebook page, and we just posted it today, so you guys check that out. Tim, we have a couple of questions here before we wrap up the live show. And the first one is from John. He says, at Chuck E. Cheese, how do you manage the volume on machines that are next to each other? In my arcade game room, I was wondering how much volume is needed per game. Is there a standard? Do you do like a decibel count or whatever?
There is an actual standard. Okay. We try to be about 90 decibels, which is pretty much about normal talking level, not yelling level,
right,
and not real soft level,
right.
So what I like to, without getting a decibel meter out, which we sometimes do, what we like to do, number one, we turn the attract mode off on every game. You don't want every game saying, "Hey, come over here and play me."
Right.
At the same time, it would drive you crazy.
Sure.
But in your arcade, you may like that, but it will get annoying after a while. So I definitely recommend turning the track mode off. And then just the normal tone. You talk, the game should be about that same level like we're talking to each other. It's comfortable. It's not too loud. It's not too soft. You can actually hear what they're saying. And that may be a kind of a preference. One of the things that I don't like when we go to big pinball festivals and stuff, is because there's so many going on, it's hard to hear. So much better when you get the game back at your house where it's just you and that game. So especially in your game room, I just say it normal voice tone is about how I like it. Now you may like it a little bit louder, a little bit softer, but that's how I would base it on.
Good information. Didn't know that. So very, very interesting.
Most of the time I just talk and
then you turn up the volume
and I sound stupid sometimes. I'll be like, "How are you doing today, game?" "Oh, I'm doing okay." "Really? You want to break down today? You want to fight?"
Exactly.
Don't give me no crap today. And about that voice level, that's how I can adjust it back. A lot of times.
Sounds good. Okay, we're about to wrap it up, so if you guys have any more questions, go ahead and send them to us in the live chat. And just as I say that, Tim, Mr. Silverball Mania says, how would you compare TPF to one of the Chicago pinball shows? Well, Tim, the one thing we have heard is that Texas Pinball Festival is the biggest. That Chicago is very tiny in comparison to Texas Pinball Festival. If you're here to play games, okay, TPF is where you need to come to play games. If you're there for the seminars and to hear the speakers, Chicago is a better venue for you because there's more speakers in those areas.
I would think so, and I think that all of them have. Texas is so big, it's so huge. There's a big, 40,000 square feet floor. It's just really big. And everything's bigger in Texas, we say, right? And we're kind of partial because we like, but
we live here.
But we talk to people who travel a lot, and they say, "Wow, this is by far," and it's well organized, well run. I can say all that. So just because it's smaller, though, sometimes there's really rare games at some of the other festivals.
That is true.
There's some of them have a lot more video games, like a California Extreme or something like that. I really think they all have, and we really like to go to the Southern Fried Gaming Expo.
Right.
So we never met a bad expo. We never went to a bad festival. They all have different things to offer, and we like them all. So
exactly, and but I do think TPF, the one thing that it has on a lot of the other expos is the size of it. It's just more games in a certain area,
so
but
world record.
More people too.
Right.
With that said, oh my goodness, there's a lot of people.
World record for most people playing pinball at one time.
Right. Well, I don't know. I did the Arcade Expo. I have no idea. So there you go. But yeah, so I think the size is probably what we have on like some of the smaller shows like Chicago, like Pinball Expo, and some of the others.
But I would definitely go to any of them and all of them.
I mean, we go to the Hag, and it's a smaller show, but it's still a lot of fun. Every expo. A
lot of fun.
If you've never been to one, definitely need to go. So Fox McLeod says, "Hey guys, it's me, the guy who asked about the how to light up my Galaxian coin door from the last time. I lost the info you provided me with. Could you tell me what parts I need and how to wire it up again? Thanks." Unfortunately, I don't remember all of that. I
remember some of it, enough to. All you got to do is what you base it on is the light bulb.
Exactly.
If it's a 5-volt or 12-volt bulb,
then you run whatever voltage you need up to the.
And all you got to do is run one of the common wires off of your JAMA harness, or jumper it from your power supply, or you can jumper it from your push buttons or whatever. And then you're going to run the voltage line straight to the power supply, either 5 or 12 volts, based on what kind of light that you have.
So and if you don't have any sockets there, you just get the socket, you wire up a common wire like Tim mentioned, you wire up the voltage wire, and then you plug your bulb in, you're good to go.
Yeah, we really should shoot a video on it.
Yeah.
Just because it sounds a lot easier, or maybe we're not. Maybe we're making it too simple. It's not.
Well,
hard.
now we do have replacing lights in an arcade cabinet that talks about it, and it has a table in there with the different bulbs and the voltage that they take.
That's right. So and that would probably
replacing lights
help.
in an arcade cabinet. Check out that.
So basically, you're just running. If I took, and here's a stand. Let's say I have a power supply sitting right here in front of me. And I have the AC going in, and then I had a common wire and my 5-volt wire. I could sit here in my lap and run those to a socket, one on one side, one on the other side, put a lamp in it, and it would work. Problem is, if I'm running 12 volts to a 5-volt light, it's going to be super bright, and it won't take long, it'll burn out. Or I will do the opposite. I'll run 12 volts up to a little...
5-volt light.
5-volt, well, that wouldn't be bright. If I run 5 volts to a 12-volt light, it's going to be really dim.
Right.
So either way, it just depends on the light bulb that you choose to use. Personally, I like 12 volts. That's what I would buy.
Seems like 555s are really common. I know it seems
555
like
is a 6.3
Yeah, it's
and
a
5
5
volt,
volt, right.
And I like 161, which
is
is
a
a
12
12 volt.
So there you go.
So a
But the table-
161 wedge bulb would work just fine.
But the table on replacing lights in arcade cabinet has all of those numbers and all of those
right,
voltages.
and I think Louis linked to it right there.
Right.
So
And the
thank
table
you,
is
Louis.
on the actual post on the website.
Oh,
So
good.
if you want to see the table, you have to go to the actual post on the website.
Now, what we've went to a lot is LEDs. Now,
Right.
what the only difference in the LED wedge lights, it a lot of times
Do I
matters.
still have them up here? I had them up here.
It
last time.
matters which way they go. Like there's a positive and a negative.
You know, the last
So if
ones I
the-
got were not.
They're not polarized
they're
like
not
that.
polarized.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I can't remember where they're.
Yeah, we had them up. We
had
did
them
talk
up here
about
last
that.
time. I'm still looking.
But of course, you can go back to the last live show, which is posted, and you could watch it again for more help with your specific
find it.
question, because we had a little bit more to it last time. Thanks for letting us know, though.
There you go. So, okay, I think that's all the questions. Now, we'll let them chime in if you still have questions. We're going to go over our contact info. So, if you have some more, we'll get them here at the end of the show. We're about to move into the after show, too, Tim. But
Okay.
let's go ahead and give our contact information. So, we'll put that up on the slides here. Again, guys, our general email address is questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you put live show in the subject, it'll get mentioned on the show. Or you can leave a comment here on the YouTube page for this episode, and we'll get to it next time. So, those are your options. Again, you can email us at questions@arcaderepairtips.com or leave a comment here on our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, and we will cover it on the next episode. You guys can also email Eric, who is in the chat room tonight. Thanks for joining us, Eric. And that's at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. And that email, again, goes to Eric and Rusty, the new host of the Question and Answer podcast. I think, Tim, we mentioned last time that Chris is no longer with the podcast. We want to
Right.
wish him the best and everything that he does going forward. But Eric now has a new partner in Rusty. And so you guys can listen to their podcast on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com or Stitcher at stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com or wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Don't you love that? Okay,
Yes.
so iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast aggregator, you guys can listen to Eric and Rusty and the Question and Answer podcast, where they also answer questions, Tim, and do a lot of other fun stuff. So you guys check out the podcast. Again, to get a hold of them, podcast@arcaderepairtips.com.
It's awesome because they really know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Unlike us. Unlike us, they really know what they're doing.
They really do.
There you go. And guys, we also want to thank you guys for being on our Facebook and Twitter feeds, Tim. And we just talked about the Cyclone article that we posted on our Facebook page. You guys can check out all that and much more, at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. And we want to thank Louie and Mark and all the rest of our team for doing what they do.
For sure.
Because, posting great stories and articles and all that kind of stuff on there for your enjoyment. They get really no pay out of that. They just get the enjoyment of seeing you guys comment, and that's about it. So we want to thank Louie and Mark for all of their contributions to the Facebook page. And if you guys don't have Facebook and you'd rather do the Twitter thing, you can check us out at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, all the stories from Facebook get posted there as well. So you can either follow us on our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter and get all of the great news stories, information, and when the next live show is going to be from those resources.
Right.
Well, Tim, that about wraps it up. It looks like we have one more question in the live chat. We'll try to get that in real quick. John says, how do you clean an edge card connector? Pink erasers.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. Pink erasers are great, Tim, for that. I've heard of guys using, like a steel wool or, really light sandpaper as well to clean edge connectors, Tim. That's another thing that you can do. Tim's here checking his phone just in case you didn't know. So,
I'm getting a message from Rod Perkins about a game that we fixed a long time ago.
Okay.
Remember Rod?
I do not.
We went to used to work with him. We went to the American League National Championship game. Baseball game with.
Are you talking about Roderick, like my old boss, or are you talking about Brandon?
Oh,
or...
maybe it's different Rod.
Okay, different Rod, I think.
Anyway, so
There you go.
we're digressing. What are we
Okay,
talking about?
that's right. We're talking about closing up the podcast.
Okay, well, we got a question, right?
We did the edge connector one.
Yeah,
So, somebody said goof off. Personally, I recommend eraser, but I also said steel wool, sand, like really fine grained sandpaper will work really well.
What the eraser does, it gets off that oxidized
Right.
stuff, and so anything that's good, like a lot of car cleaners and stuff that takes off oxidation, will work pretty good. But I'll tell you something that I really, really like, and we use at Chuck E. Cheese, and I am a huge fan of. We've talked about this before. You're going to write this one down. It's called Moss.
Oh yeah, that's right.
M-A-A-S.
Yes. M-A-A-S.
It will clean the snuffins out of a metal or
Okay.
just make it shiny and work really good and make a really
So you'd
good
recommend
connection.
that even for edge connectors?
Yes.
Okay.
I've used it on many an edge connector,
you
and
go.
it works great. MAAS. It's concentrated. Takes
Where do you pick it up from? Like Home Depot, Lowe's?
Walmart used to carry
Walmart?
it, and I'm not sure now. We get it online.
Somebody said Deoxit. Deoxit works well too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Moss
it-
is the key.
If you use some moss on anything that's metal like that, you'll be amazed at how well it cleans. Neverdull works pretty good at Walmart. AutoZone places carry that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you could clean it with.
There you go. So I think that is it for the questions, Tim. So at this point, we're going to wrap up the regular show, but we will
All
be
right.
back for the after show if you guys want to hear us talk about non-arcade related things. So including maybe some more Christmas stuff, although I think Tim already covered that. I do want to thank you guys for sticking with us with the one-man show here. So through that, I mean, we had quite a few people that stuck
We
it
really
out.
had a good audience this time, so thank y'all
Yeah,
for your
last
input.
time I
and
think
for
Star
your-
Wars might have preempted us a little bit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people
Priorities,
don't see
you
Star
know?
Wars
It's
instead of
priority.
watching us. That's okay.
I can't
guess.
imagine. Maybe we'll talk about Star Wars.
That's right. We are going to talk about Star Wars in the after show. So if you, well, no spoilers because I haven't seen
Okay.
it yet. I will tell you that. But Tim has, and so he's going to be giving you his opinions on that in the after show. But guys, we want to thank you guys for joining us for the regular show today. And remember to send us your questions at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. We hope that you had a wonderful Christmas, a happy New Year. And Tim, remember here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game,
We play the
game.
game.
Take care, everybody. We will see you in the after show if you want to stick around. So, bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back.
All right.
Welcome to the Arcade Repair Tips After Show. For you guys that decided to stick around, we thank you for being here. Now, Tim, I've got the outline here. Of course, you've already talked about, I guess, Christmas Day and Christmas or New Year's Eve
little
a little
bit.
bit. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that too much. But you'll notice one thing that's not on the outline is the fact that Georgia beat Oklahoma. And I didn't want to rub that in too much.
That
I did
was-
not put it on here just because of that.
I don't know.
But I still brought it up.
I think it was one of those games we didn't lose. We just ran out of time.
Right.
You know, it's like normally they've said that the playoff games have disappointed. I think that one definitely didn't
Did
disappoint.
not. Oh, it was crazy.
Might have been more of the championship game. We'll see. I don't know about an all SEC championship. SEC fans are for it, but
Look,
I'd rather see
Georgia is good, and to be honest with you, I picked them to win the game.
Really?
Because I mean, look, I'm a Big 10 fan, Big 12 fan. I love Oklahoma, but
Did you
I mean,
watch the game? The
did.
linebacker for them was just all over the place. I mean, that guy is just, and he won the Butkus Award or
Right,
whatever.
whatever the
he
award,
deserved
yeah,
it. That
right.
dude was. He reminded me of Sean Lee. He's
Right.
like that guy, just kind of what a difference he made. Every play was just, man, amazing. So, one of those games as a Sooner fan that most people know, I hate to lose, but at the same time, man, if you're going to, what a game. It was just a great game. So, enjoyed. That's really, I haven't really got to watch much college. Normally, I like to watch bowl games and kind of get into that. I think it's pretty neat that the Independence Bowl got Florida State this year,
Right.
Which I thought was good for the town of Shreveport and city of Shreveport.
Well, we were in the Dallas area when the Cotton Bowl was going on, and there were USC fans everywhere.
Okay, so USC was in the Cotton Bowl.
USC was in it, and Ohio State.
See, that's...
And Ohio State ran over them, according to everybody I heard. So
how cool is that, though? I mean, I like the way the bowls are done now. You remember the Cotton Bowl was always like the Aggies, and so it was always like the Southwestern Conference second place versus. It was never. Now we get some really good games, and you have Oklahoma and Georgia who have never played before.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? In the Rose Bowl.
Right.
So I like the way the bowl system, and I actually like the playoff system.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think I wish
they'd expand it. I
think
think everybody wants them to.
To win the national championship, you have to beat 2 of the top 4 teams in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So I don't care who wins. If Alabama wins, I'm going to call them. They're the national champs.
Right.
If Georgia wins, they should be the national champs. Nobody else should have any say so. So I like the way it's set up. You have bowl games, but you still have a championship bowl game. So I'm looking forward. I'll probably watch that game.
There you go. Oh, I'm looking forward to it too. I mean, why not watch the national championship?
Yeah.
I mean,
ain't no Cowboys fan gonna be watching no other games.
That's exactly right. So I mean, it's just the way it worked out for us this year.
Or
so
Packers, Packers. We feel your pain. Y'all got the new Tony Romo, Aaron Rodgers.
So did you do anything unique or interesting over the holiday? Go anywhere? Visit?
Not nothing. We mostly stuck around here, and one thing is so blooming cold. We just kind of wanted to hunker in and watch some movies.
And I'm sure it's cold. I mean, it's cold in most of the nation right now. It seems like it's warmed up quite a bit today.
Right.
Unfortunately,
you talked about The Punisher, so I started watching that. Kind of binge watched that.
Did you finish it?
Haven't finished it.
Okay, haven't.
I think I'm down to episode 9 or something like
you're
that.
getting close.
So I'm pretty close, and I really did. I liked it more than I thought I would like it.
Ultraviolet. Definitely ultraviolet. But I mean, the story is
fits,
a good story.
It kind of fits. It's like, it's kind of like I did not like the new Will Smith movie on Netflix.
Bright. So you watched Bright.
I watched it. I wasn't a big fan.
People say it's not good, but they've already greenlit a sequel for it. So
I liked the storyline. I really did, but I just didn't like it that much. I mean, it was like I'm not used to seeing Will Smith say the F word, a lot. It just didn't fit him. I was like, you're trying too hard to make it rated R or something. I don't know what they were trying to do. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Right. So if anybody, and if you guys, we're gonna get into our movie and television talk. We've already got there. So if you guys have any movies or television shows that you're watching, please let us know in the live chat. We'd be happy to discuss if we've seen them or not, and we can talk about some of them. But Tim, we did have a teaser at the end of the regular show for Star Wars. So I have not seen it.
You have not seen it at all.
Give me the spoiler-free review, and I don't want to hear anything about it. Okay.
See, and I have, of course, growing up, the very first movie I ever saw was Star Wars.
Right.
And that set the bar for everything else.
Sure.
Everything else after that was a letdown to me.
Right.
As a kid growing up in that time, so most of my friends, and of course, gosh, even on Facebook and stuff, we're all big Star Wars fans. You're a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
My kids love Star Wars.
Sure.
Connor loves Star Wars. So we like to go to Star Wars movies, and some of them have been better than the others. And
prequels,
I've heard, the prequels have not, and so this is my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. I liked it the best of besides the original 3, it was my favorite.
Wow. So
original
3, Last Jedi.
I liked it. I mean, now I do like a couple of the others really close.
Right.
But for some reason, I just like. I mean, some people are like probably throwing something at the screen right now. I've heard people that just hated it.
It's either hate or love. It seems
and
like
there's
no in between.
I liked. I mean, I don't expect. I know that Disney does it now. I don't expect. I mean, gosh, we've seen all the sci effects that we're going to see, and the storyline. You kind of can guess what's going to happen. I mean, it's not like you're clueless.
Right, exactly.
But
we've already set up the characters at this point, right?
But at the same time, I was like, what more do you want? I thought there was a lot of, there's drama. There's, of course, fighting action and stuff, and you still get to see Princess Leia before. I mean,
Right,
we know
because they
that.
had completed filming by the time that she...
And I mean, and that's cool.
She died, right.
Yeah, but before she passed away. So I'm like, the last chance you get to see Carrie Fisher act, and I was like, that's great.
Right.
I mean, I loved it. So, in fact, I really would like to go see it again because I know that there are there's a lot of little stuff, and I'll tell you this, John, they didn't leave this cliffhanger ending
That's
that you
what I was
gotta
wondering.
wait.
Okay.
You gotta wait a year. Oh my God,
Like
what
the Luke
happened?
thing, right?
But
Yeah.
what they did, they planted a whole lot of little stuff that I could see it going 5 different directions.
Sure.
And so anyway, that's what I like. If you guys have seen it and you liked it, I'm sure that people have. I've heard, and some of my friends just hated it. And they were just like,
Louis says did not like how they handled a certain character. Don't
Okay.
mention names. La 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 la. I don't wanna hear it.
I understand what he was saying, what he's saying there. I do get that part of it, but
Okay, so let's go ahead and go in through the chat here. TXJYT says, Mr. Robot. I finished up Mr. Robot, the last episode, and Mr. Robot is very good.
I've not seen that yet, and I want to.
It is, I tell you what, it is crazy, just warning up front. I mean, because, that's what you get when you get, like, a schizophrenic guy. That actually, he's kind of he's talking to you as a person. He's talking to, like, all the, like another guy, and then he's got himself, and they're all kind of talking to each other. But, and Christian Slater does a great job. It's probably the best role he's done in a long time. But watch it from the beginning if you're going to watch it. Okay, I think they're all on Amazon.
Is it on Amazon?
I think they're all on Amazon. But I thought the finale was kind of over the top. But I understood where they were going with it. There was a lot of crazy stuff that happened in the season 3 finale. And I love Mr. Robot. It was great. I enjoyed the ride. Season 2 is really weird. And season 3, this one kind of normalized it for me. So that's good. Let's go on here. Stranger Things. I did not watch season 2. How was season 2?
Oh my gosh, season 2 was awesome.
Okay,
yeah.
season 2 was good. I haven't watched season 1.
Oh my
I haven't
gosh.
watched it at all.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's one of those you can binge watch.
Right.
And you really are going, because it really...
I'm going to get some time, I think, to binge watch some
Stranger
stuff, maybe.
Things 2, to me, did not disappoint, and I liked it. One thing I would like to mention, especially in the chat, I don't know if you were a fan, I watched the new X-Files.
The new one.
The new one.
And,
I watched it, and I liked
the last season that they did, because the new season's coming up. That's the reason why it's out there right now.
No, it came out was that
the
last
first
night.
episode?
I saw the first episode.
Gotcha. Okay, I can't
it
remember.
was really good.
I am not a
You weren't a huge X-Files fan,
I
were you?
watched like episodes here and there.
Yeah.
But I never watched.
Right, you
I
didn't
never watched
just
the whole
watch
thing.
watch it all in a row.
So I have
200
seen episodes of the X-Files, and there are some that I think are great, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't into it like that, like where I just had to watch every episode.
Well, you kind of wondered how are they going to pick up and where are they going to go with it, and I love where they went with it. I just thought it's awesome. I thought it was cool. I'm like, oh, got me a new show. I'll watch X-Files on Fox.
Okay, Joe actually hit on something that I watched. If you have Netflix, check out the documentary "The Toys That Made Us," and I have seen all of them, and they are great. And
Good
so,
one.
"The Toys That Made Us" is basically the story behind. Right, it's an 8-part series, but only 4 of the 8 parts are out right now, and it's a documentary series about how each toy came into being. And so, the first episode is on Star Wars, the second episode is on Barbie, the third episode is on He-Man, and the fourth episode is on G.I. Joe, which are probably all things that you all know who are watching this. So, but it's fascinating to see how these things came to life. I mean, basically, like the idea that led up to how they were created and everything. Even the Barbie episode was very interesting to me.
See, I don't know if the story is true, but I've always heard that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were just sitting in a room and they couldn't come up with just come up with the stupidest thing we can think of. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that they just said, "How about turtles that can do ninja moves and eat a lot of pizza or something?" It's like.
There you go. Probably.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit. But
Right.
it does not cover Ninja Turtles at this point.
Oh.
It covers, like I said, Star Wars toys,
Okay.
Barbie, He-Man, and G.I. Joe.
You know what I think was, and you tell me because I haven't seen it yet, but I bet it was tough to build Star Wars toys on, when now it would be easy to go back and
The Star Wars one's the best one, in my opinion, of the episodes. Because here's the deal. Like, nobody wanted it.
Oh,
like,
wow.
no toy company wanted it. I will tell you that. And Kenner ended up getting
yeah.
it for cheap.
Oh, wow.
And they only had about a 3-month head start before the movie
That's
came
what I'm
out or
saying,
something.
yeah.
And so it talks about how they handled that. It's very interesting. I don't want to spoil it. Watch it.
I got to see
So
that.
it's very
got
good.
To see. I might watch
yeah,
that
the toy,
tonight.
and somebody else, John, says the Toys That Made Us is cool. Yes, absolutely watch it. Let's see, the history of Star Wars toy line, Masters of the Universe. We're already talking about that. Star Wars IMAX 3D. Did you see it in IMAX 3D?
No,
Okay, you did not.
I did not.
Okay. Let's see what else here. Huge Masters of the Universe fan. Collector. Joe says he's a Masters of the Universe collector. So
Okay.
he's probably got Castle Grayskull
Well, that'll be cool,
and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So if you got to see the Toys That Made Us. It was fantastic, Tim.
He'd hate me because I think I shot him with a BB gun a lot.
Well, the thing about Masters of the Universe was that it was created as a toy line. It wasn't created from a cartoon.
Right.
Like, they made the toy line and made the cartoon based on the toy line, is what you'll find out. So
Did I ever tell you guys the story that one time I was about 30 years old. We were sitting at Thanksgiving dinner. I was talking about all these Star Wars toys I had and growing up, and my mom said, "I knew you'd say that one day." I kept a whole box of them up in the storage.
there you go.
And so I have a lot of my original toys. The problem is they ain't worth nothing because I played with mine.
Exactly.
Mine got dirty, chewed on. Darth Vader's got half a cape,
Right.
half a sword. Luke's got it look like he got a black eye or something. I probably made a pirate out of him. So mine are worth useless to everybody else, worth a lot to me. I have
you go.
Millennium Falcon, X-Wing fighters, have them all. So that's pretty cool.
So there you go. Yeah, but the Toys That Made Us, you need to watch it. Need to watch it. Now, I did see a movie, but it was kind of less of a movie, I guess. I saw Brad's Status with Ben Stiller. Okay, have you heard about this movie?
No.
It's up for some award consideration.
Okay.
But I think it's on. I watched it on digital, so I think it's on like Amazon and stuff. If it's not, I can't remember. But so it's Ben Stiller has an older son that's about to go to college. And so basically what the story's about is kind of him overcoming his need to compare himself to his contemporaries and basically how to gauge his success. And it's really weird. It's not really a movie, I would say. It's more about him dealing with that. Because it's like all of the guys that he grew up with are super famous. Okay, they make tons of money, they're super recognizable, and he runs like a nonprofit organization, okay?
Right.
And so like the whole movie he's kind of comparing himself to his buddies as he's taking his son through these college experiences, because those were his college friends. So he's kind of
I see.
reliving this. So it's really about how we deal with that, how we compare ourselves, and then overcoming that and realizing, that's not the most important thing, right? Comparing ourselves is not the most important thing. So there are funny moments, but it is not a funny movie. It is more of a drama, I would say, than anything. But it is Ben Stiller, which we think of as funny when we see it. But it's not a funny movie.
Wow.
So it's just kind of a real movie, I would say. It's like I said, it kind of shows you overcoming how he deals with the difficulties of having successful friends and not comparing himself to them.
He said his mom threw all of his toys away. I'm lucky mine didn't sell mine at a garage sale.
Somebody says, I have Grayskull and the Eternia playset, which is the holy grail of toys. I have a complete inbox. Star Wars toys away. My mom still has. I didn't have as many Star Wars toys as my brother, but my brother had an AT-AT Walker, and he also had the Death Star. And so I know we have both those. My mom still has both those with the figures inside.
Oh, wow.
So, but that was from the '90s. So that was special edition.
The thing today, it's not open or not played with. All mine are. We played with ours.
Right.
Oh my gosh, we played with our Star Wars and shot them with BB guns and. Blew them up with firecrackers and all kinds of stuff. But
Right.
it was good times though growing up back then when that was all new. I actually played with a lot of the toys before I ever saw the movie.
Sure.
But the movie ran for like 6 months.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
crazy.
Right.
It's
Ran
like
for a long time,
It just
exactly.
kept going in our little town. People were like,
Well,
finally I went and saw it.
One of the things they say in the documentary is like you didn't ask somebody if they had seen Star Wars. You asked them how many times had they
How
seen
many times?
it. Right,
Right,
exactly. That's
exactly.
what you asked them. And
How many times?
That's how they knew they had such a hit on their hands, was by the way that they did that.
I believe that.
Any other TV shows, movies, or anything else that you've watched recently? I watched Trolls with my daughter. I had not seen Trolls. It was
Trolls?
pretty decent. It's okay. It's got a lot of good '80s music in it. So if you
I
like
was
that.
pretty excited when the second season of Travelers come up.
Right.
And so if you...
And I saw that on Netflix, and it's in like my little trending now stuff. I
Yeah.
see it on there. What's it about?
Well, all right, what it basically is about is that these people from the future are traveling back in time
Okay.
to try to stop a comet comes by the Earth and
Gotcha.
causes basically nuclear war because they think it's a bomb, whatever, and then the whole world just seems to turn bad. Well, here's the deal. Here's how they travel. The only way that they can travel, and this is not spoiling anything, is in the very first episode, you'll see it starts off like this. The way they travel is at the moment a person is about to die, their spirit or soul is leaving their body, they can enter that body at that time.
Okay.
So but they're not in, so they don't get any memories or anything. They just get a shell, a body.
Right.
But you may be a man going into a young boy or an older woman or something, or a woman going into, so you don't you just get a host body you're looking for, but because you live in the future, you know what exact time and date somebody dies.
Right.
So you're trying to pick somebody cool, I'm sure, you know, that you want to be this person or whatever. And that's pretty much what happens. At that second, this person is just about to die, they wake up and they're well. And
so they stop this thing, and then is there a huge butterfly effect that happens? I'm just wondering.
Exactly.
Okay,
that's exactly what happens.
Right, exactly.
Everything,
that's what time travel is, right there.
And they have a person that's sending them messages throughout the thing, and they'll run into somebody, and they'll be like, you know, looking at them, and they're like, okay, I'm 6489. They're like, oh, I'm a traveler too. They're all over the place.
Right.
And they're all have this mission to stop this thing. They also have little mini missions, but they're also not allowed. They really don't try to change. So if you couldn't change the future, think about that. You knew that this kid, that you all of a sudden were neighbors, that you're in this person's body, and you realize their next door neighbor is going to get hit by a car.
Right.
And you like that kid. He's a good kid. Well, you don't want to stop him or something. This is just a hypothetical example.
Sure.
Because that will change the future if you do that.
Because now that kid's alive.
But but at the same time, you're a person. Do you let somebody die when you can stop it?
Right.
So there's a little ethical, that's a little drama dilemma that comes with it. But it's really cool. They have a lot of, and they're really bad. Like they can fight like nobody's business, do all this. And so this one woman, her husband beats on her, and she's like, oh, you're not beating on me no more. And she like just kicks his butt, you know.
Right.
And so people, and one of them is mildly mentally challenged or mildly retarded, and she comes back. Well, now she's smart. Now she talks normal, and she can read anything and talk, and she's actually a doctor in the future. Well, you can imagine everybody's used to treating her kind of bad, and all of a sudden she's like, don't treat me like I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing, you know.
Right.
Interesting show. Very interesting. The first episode, watch the pilot. The pilot kind of really spells it all out.
So if you like the pilot, you'll like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. If you watch the pilot, you'll like it. What are they saying?
That's what I was saying. Let's see. Now, one thing we got, let's see, how about Godless, Black Mirror on Netflix? Have you seen them? I have not seen, like Black Mirror, I hear things about all the time, and I need to watch it.
That's kind of like the new Twilight Zone in a way.
I've
been wanting to see that.
Tech-based, you know?
Yeah.
And I've read, the thing is I've read reviews for the episodes, but I haven't watched an episode. I don't know why. It's just like I'm curious about what's in it, but I do want to watch
I just get on one thing, and I have to wear it out, and then I'll go to something else. I want to see Godless, too.
Yes.
That looks also...
Absolutely.
And I kind of like that mix of stuff. I don't like to just watch a sci-fi show for a while, then I'll switch. I'll get a drama or then a fighting or superhero.
Joe says he sets up his toys and plays them. He says you got to enjoy the toy. And that gets me on one of my soapboxes, Tim, about not leaving things in storage that are meant to be played with, like arcade games.
That's funny because we talked about that. We talked about New Year's goals, and I said one of my New Year's goals is to get some games out of storage. Like get them working or trade them or sell them because they're just not doing any good. We got
They have a purpose.
And we have a storage room full of them.
Right, exactly. They have a purpose. The purpose is to be played. Let's play them. So, and same thing with toys. Toys have a purpose. The purpose is to be played. Play with them.
And I've had people that I knew that had a Quantum or something that didn't want to play it because they're afraid it would break. I'm like, well, what fun is it?
It's made to be played. It is made to be played.
Right.
Toys are made to be played.
We'll fix it.
Same thing.
Just go ahead and play it.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's continue on here. I don't want to get too much on my soapbox there. Let's see. Sounds like Quantum Leap. That's what I was going to say, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little Quantum Leap-ish.
Does kind of sound like that. Travelers is very... I haven't seen Quantum Leap in so long, but I do remember it being a lot like that.
Okay, I have two Boba Fett's that I got... Boba Fett's back in the... I got back in the mail in 1979. There you go. Rockets don't launch, though. He's got the little... the rocket, but it doesn't launch.
Oh, yeah.
The launching Boba Fett is the one that's worth all the money.
Oh, okay.
The one that has the rocket launcher on his back and it actually launches a rocket.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Right. So, Rockets don't launch, though. Looking forward to Ready Player One movie. And that does look very interesting. I want to read the book. I have it on my Kindle. I just haven't gotten around to reading it.
I want to watch the new Liam Neeson movie. Have you seen it? Where he's on a train?
Is it like taking on a train? Or,
yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm all in. Yeah. I'm all in. I'm signed up right now.
He's on a train. He's just sitting there riding on a train. He gets a call and says, hey, there's somebody on the train that's not supposed to be there. If you pick out that person,
Oh, yes, I have seen
we
that.
give you a
Okay.
bunch, like $60,000. And he goes, "What makes you think I would do that?" And they're like, "It's $60,000. All you got to do is point what's different on the train. You ride it every day." And then all of a sudden, I guess he takes the money and gets trapped in this, "Oh, now we own you,"
Right.
kind of deal. And it's all on.
I don't know what the
and
name
it
of
just
it is.
kicks a lot of.
Somebody know what the latest Liam Neeson movie is.
It's coming out on January the 12th. I know
There.
that one. And it sounds something like Commuter or something like that. The Commute
Yeah,
or something like that.
So,
Anyway.
Okay, somebody says just too much. Oh, Louis says just too much CGI for me on Ready Player One. I still think it's going to be good. I mean, look at Tron has a lot of CGI. I love
That's
Tron.
true.
I mean, CGI doesn't necessarily mean a bad movie. They just need to do the CGI right.
Right.
And that's the problem is that a lot of times
Yeah,
CGI is overused
exactly.
or it's not used
I'm
right.
putting my jacket
and-
on.
Yeah, go for it. It's a little cold in here. You know, it's temperature's starting to drop, and the heat doesn't get in here real well, and the door's not open. So
Yeah.
sorry about that.
It's game room.
Yeah, there you go. So I see. Let's see. I saw Father Figures yesterday. It was
That-
okay, not funny as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I started.
And that's from Joe.
I started to go watch that, and I was kind of worried about that.
So which you have to remind me.
That's
who's
the
guy
one
in
with
it?
Owen Wilson. In
Okay,
it, right?
yes. Okay, I've seen the trailer. I have not seen the movie. So, but yeah,
There's nothing
I like
at the
Owen
movies
Wilson.
that besides Star Wars right now, and I guess Justice League is out here.
what's the
and
one we were talking about with the Ferdinand?
Ferdinand? Yeah.
So,
If you like kids,
Yeah.
or got younger peoples around you
nobody
that you
wants
need
to
on
see
tape.
Justice League. Did you say Justice League?
I said that's what I said. It's out, but I don't really want to see it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Justice League. Yeah. It'll be out on digital HD before we know it. I think.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll be watching it at home pretty
def-
quick. So, and here's the deal. It's like, I've heard that Wonder Woman is great and everything else is bad. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting.
I'll tell you this much. Remember, and this is another plug for Star Wars, is my wife liked Star Wars growing up, but she hasn't really ever, she's just like, I'm kind of too adult for that. I don't know what her deal is. She just didn't like it. We watched the last Star Wars, me, her, my daughter, and her boyfriend went. Me and the boyfriend are like, oh yeah, it was good. And they were both just like about sound asleep. My wife has not seen Star Wars, but my daughter has with her boyfriend.
Right.
And she liked it.
There you go.
So I think they do appeal to a little bit more of a story tell to it. It flows a little. That's what I think I liked about it too. It's like, okay. And, she was like, wasn't just, stuff blowing up. She, hers describing it. She goes, it was really funny, this part, and this part was really sad, and so she liked it. So
Okay.
that may help some of the guys out there. I think your wife will like this Star Wars better.
It says, Louis says, tried to put too much in the movie. It should have been broken up into 2 parts.
It's really long.
Okay.
It does really get long. Yeah, it seemed
Now,
like...
here's the thing. I want to watch Kingsman, The Golden Circle, the new one. I mean, it's out on digital HD. I bought it when it was on sale for $10. I want to watch it, but it's 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Right.
I'm like, golly, that's long.
It is.
I mean,
Star Wars was over 2 hours.
Right, exactly. Okay, so it's over it's like 2.5.
Yeah,
or
I think it's
like
like
that.
2 hours and 11 minutes.
Golly. See, it's just a long time for a movie. TXJYT says the new Jumanji. I actually want to see this,
Ooh.
and I heard that it ties in to the
Video
old
game.
one.
Yes.
So, like it with the Robin Williams one.
Yeah, well...
And I love the Robin Williams one. I was
Instead
actually
of a
big fan.
board game, they find an old school video game like an Atari.
Oh, really?
And they play a game called Jumanji. So, see, the first time I saw it was just like, you watch the television commercials, it's like,
Right.
maybe, I'll rent it. Watch the full trailer. And it really is kind of the way they spun it in The Rock and all those guys in it, just funny. It looks funny. I forgot about Jumanji. That is probably...
So there you go. You're saying there's nothing to watch. You got
I
something
may
to
go
watch.
see Jumanji
There you
this
go.
weekend.
So absolutely. So I think that's about it, Tim. I think we wrapped up anything.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to talk to? You're gonna get out of here.
Yeah, it's cold. I need to go
It is
home.
cold.
I'm getting old. I gotta get in bed soon.
That's right. We also wake up early, right? Makes a
Yeah,
difference.
we
It's
got
Friday
a lot
tomorrow,
of people
though.
here still.
I know we do. It's Friday tomorrow, though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Tomorrow's
so.
my payday too. So
Oh, there you go.
Even
So,
better.
I already had my payday. It was last week. So, but I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
All right.
So, but we just want to thank everybody for joining us for the after show as well as the regular show. And Tim, I'm glad that you like your Christmas gift, the Atari
thank
shirt
you.
that
I
got
do
you.
like
so
it.
I'm glad that you got that, and so thanks for wearing it tonight.
I'm glad
So
that
there you
it
go.
fits.
Yeah, I got you the right size. There you go. So, but thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope to see you. Now, Tim, again, February is up in the air right now at live show wise because like baby is due like right then.
Right.
So we're probably, if we do a February show, it's probably going to be either a week later, 2 weeks later. It'll be sometime after that.
We'll announce it.
So it'll be that's a flexible one. So we may not. You may not. What I'm saying is, don't tune in on the first Thursday of February and expect a show.
Right.
There may not be a show there. How about
Jonathan's
that?
having his second child, and
That's
you
right.
know it's a boy.
It is a boy, so
Right. Maybe Alex is coming,
That's
so
right.
good.
Alex is his name, so there you go. So, but thank you guys so much for joining us and interacting with us at the live chat. Like you said, we had a lively group tonight. It was
We really
definitely
did.
worth
Thank you,
having
guys.
you guys all here. So, but again, guys, thanks for joining us, and have a great night. And make sure you stay tuned to our YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff for even more stuff coming in the future. So,
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys later in 2018. Take care.
Only thing I